Hello. Say hello, everyone. How's everybody? What's up? Can you guys believe that it is only 1 week until Thanksgiving? I was listening to Christmas music earlier. So, what's the haps today, fam? What's going on? How's everybody doing? I should be wearing my Palestine sweatshirt, but I was out. I did get my coffee, though. That smells good. Okay, so I got this like maple oat milk from Trader Joe's. That's what I was trying to think of. And it's really good. Hope you guys got your coffee too. I can't believe it's only a week from Thanksgiving. It's crazy. Oh yeah, my dog. Well, I had to let him up because he was crying. He'll cry if I don't let him on the bed. So. Oh, I literally just saw your TikTok about the UN ceasefire veto. Yeah, isn't that disgusting? I'm so tired of them. What happened to release the hostages? Because that ceasefire resolution would have made it to where the hostages got released. I just like how they're not even or they haven't been for a while, but they don't even pretend to give a shit about the hostages. Also, it's bad because even the UK voted for it. There were 0 abstentions and 0 no, and only 1 no, and the no was us. Happy to see you too, Hamza. How you doing? Honestly, no, the question is, what's the point of the UN? Like, the whole point of having, like, international law in the UN and the rules-based order and the rule of law and the ICJ and the ICC and all that shit, the whole point of that was to protect human rights, allegedly. And it's just the Israeli regime. That was weird. Wait a second. X banned you? For what? That is so embarrassing. Yeah, what happened to free speech? What happened to free speech? It's amazing. They're so full of shit. They're so full of shit. What's your new account name, Amir? Hopefully you use the same profile picture so people can recognize you. Hi, Blakely. Salam from South Africa. Oh, wow. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, like, it's just so embarrassing. The UN and the Security Council, all those things were created after World War II. And it was supposedly to protect human rights and to stop things like the Holocaust from ever happening again. And now we're using that same body, we're using it to protect the rights of the criminals. That body that was supposed to protect human rights, we are now using to protect the criminals. Why are you here? is the question. Why are you here? Like, why is the UN here? Can we just stop paying taxes on it already? Ollie, until money gets pulled out of politics, things will keep getting worse. I know. I know. I know. It's very dark. It's very dark. Did anything else happen today besides the UN vote? The charter for the UN was written in San Francisco. I haven't heard anything from O'Day recently since the last stream, but that was like last week, last Thursday. Hopefully he's okay. Kyle was on Piers. Did you see that? No, I didn't. We should watch it. Piers, but do you condemn Hamas? Yeah, I love how Twitter was supposed to be free speech, and then they just like attack anybody who's not like a rabid Zionist. Like, it's so embarrassing. They're so full of shit. Bernie is streaming on his channel live on the Senate vote to block offensive arms sales to the Israeli regime. You know what kind of annoys me about that, though, is why hasn't this been done earlier? Why? Like, sure, I'm glad, better late than never, I guess, but like, they're really late. Why haven't more of them come together to do this before? Especially since, I don't know, it seems a little sus to me, especially since we know that Trump's administration is going to undo it as soon as they come in. So to me, I could be wrong, but it feels a little bit like virtue signaling. It feels a little bit to me like, I don't know, it's giving performative because they've been in power this whole time. They've been in power this whole time. Where was this vote before? Like, where? Where was this vote before? And now you do it right before Trump gets into office? Thoughts on Leah Miller? I don't even know who that is. Why? Who is that? Who is Leah Miller? Wait. I don't know who that is. Okay, she's a left-leaning political YouTuber. Oh. I'll look into her. I'll look her up. We need more of that, guys. More left people in media. It doesn't just have to be YouTube. We need more left people in media, period. People need to literally go everywhere, okay? Dang, you have more keffiyehs than some actual Arabs, lol. Just show my solidarity, you know? I actually am going to be getting keffiyehs for my dogs, like dog keffiyehs. Yeah, so I'm going to look up that person that you told me because there needs to be so much more solidarity between left creators. There needs to be more podcasts. We actually we need a lot of cis men too, okay? And I'm not talking to clowns. I'm actually talking about people on the left, okay? Not Democratic shills like Harry Sisson cheered when Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush lost their races. Like, get the fuck out of here. That I'm talking about actual left people, okay? We need more left media, more left creators. We need them in all spaces too. We need them on TikTok, on Twitch. You know, Hassan can't be doing all the heavy lifting by himself, especially since he's got all of the Zionists coming after him, constantly trying to get him canceled because they're racist and Islamophobic. And we need to have more YouTubers, more people who just do podcasts, and we need more men, okay? Probably everywhere else just besides YouTube, because it's so funny because YouTube is predominantly like dominated by men anyway to begin with, but they're all on the right. We need left men, okay? Yeah, we just need a lot more. We need a lot more. Like the way men are being radicalized. Hey, Creflo, Harry Sissy. And when I also say that, okay, I mean leftists that are also people on the left that are not puritanical, okay? We don't need any more of that. Like, I saw some people on the left being like, "Oh, Kyle Kalinske is not left enough, and he shouldn't have gone on Piers Morgan, and, like, Emma shouldn't have gone on Piers Morgan because Piers but do you condemn Hamas Morgan as a hack, and we shouldn't be doing that." No, 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 no. No. This needs to be rejected, this type of thinking. This little, like, cancel culture / click bullshit that the left always engages in, where like we always act like we're a club that people aren't allowed in and you're not left enough and this and that and the purity testing and blah, 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 blah. No, that needs to end. Okay. And by that, I'm not saying that that means that we tolerate, because I feel like whenever we call out purity testing on the left, you always inevitably have the person on the left coming in and being like, "Oh, so what do you want? Transphobes running the place? You want us to sacrifice people of color?" It's like, shut the fuck up. No one's saying that. No one's fucking saying that. No one's saying to tolerate racism. No one's saying to be a class reductionist. No one's saying tolerate transphobia. Okay? No one's saying that. What I am saying, though, is that there is a lot of purity testing bullshit that the second you don't agree with like one thing that a certain person on the left has to say, or one ideological, not ideological, like one specific policy or way of doing things, like your strategy of doing things may be different. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, you can't sit with us. We don't want you in our club. You can't sit with us. You can't sit with us, Kyle, because you're a sock dem. You can't sit with us. Like, you can't sit with us, Vosh, because you make edgy jokes and you're sexist or something." It needs to stop. Like, it really needs to stop. You do not see this kind of shit on the right. And they're winning. They are winning. There needs to be a lot more media infrastructure on the left. A lot more media infrastructure. And the left needs to actually start supporting each other. Okay? The left needs to start supporting each other. The left needs to be lifting each other up and supporting each other. We need to be supporting each other's channels. We need to be supporting each other's podcasts. We need to be supporting each other's initiatives. We need to be supporting each other's businesses. We need to be creating an infrastructure. This is part of community organizing. Community organizing is not just going to a protest. Part of community organizing is also building an infrastructure. And when I say media, yeah, there needs to be a lot more podcasters, a lot more TikTokers, a lot more YouTubers, but there also needs to be people that actually work in the tech part of that. Okay. We need producers. We need editors. We need, like people like that. Like, because we don't have it. We don't have it. I heard Norm Finkelstein say it the other day, and he was so right. He was like, "Well, there is no left in the United States. Like, who are we opposing? Like, who are they opposing? There's no real organized left in the United States. Like, there just isn't. But there are people that can be pulled to the left. That's the thing. People who can be pulled to the left as they should be. Okay? To be honest, libs prioritize issues that did not resonate with most people, and that's why people were centrist or slightly left-leaning moved to the right. Exactly. You know why they moved to the right? Because there was no left to go to. Democrats don't prioritize what the people actually want, and so they went right because there was no left option. There's no organized left in this country. There's no left political movement or party. So they went right or they didn't vote at all. More people didn't vote at all than moved right. And the reason why it's important to support each other is because the right has done that so effectively. They all help each other. They all go on each other's shows. They all like lift each other up. And we especially need to support each other, people on the left, because we don't have the money that they have. So we need to be even better about organizing and spreading the message. We need to be even better about organizing and spreading the message because of the fact that we don't have the money that they do. Yeah. Okay, serious question. You speak of people moving right because the Dems blow. In my mind, that's not a reason to vote for a wannabe dictator. That's true, but as I just said a second ago, a lot of people just didn't vote. It wasn't that so many people moved to the right. A lot less people voted in this election than they did in 2020. I think it was 14 million. 14 million people that voted in 2020 didn't vote at all. And on top of that, there are tens of millions of people in this country that are eligible to vote that don't vote at all. And some of the people that voted for Trump, of those maybe who were kind of centrist leaning or maybe not that political that voted for Trump, they didn't believe the dictator line because the Democrats didn't really sell it. You know what I mean? And they were like, oh my gosh, Trump is a dictator and Republicans are dictators and democracy is over if he wins. And then like 5 seconds later, they were like, we love Liz Cheney. We need a strong Republican Party. And I'm going to put a Republican in my cabinet. Like, people weren't buying it because they weren't selling it. Yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah, I feel like people really, really do not take into consideration how many people just don't vote at all. And yes, there are people that voted for Donald Trump because they thought that the rhetoric about the whole dictator thing was they didn't believe it because the Democrats were not consistent on that message. And second of all, some of them didn't care because they felt like, oh, somebody just sent me a super thanks, whoever that was, on my actual YouTube page. Somebody just sent me a super thanks. Thank you. I'll check that later. Whoever just did, thank you. I think that the other thing is that they just weren't buying it. You know, they weren't buying it. And I think that there were a lot of people that did vote on the economy and basically they're voting against what the status quo is. You know what I mean? So like for the people that are like, why did some people vote for Trump? It wasn't that Trump is going to be better on the economy. He's not. It's that they were voting against the status quo. They don't see their lives improving under this administration. So even though Trump is like most definitely going to do a lot of really bad things, especially and on the economy as well, people were just voting against the status quo. Look at my dog. Why you agree? Exactly. There were a lot of people that they did not care what the change was. They just wanted change. And that's the thing, guys, is that a lot of voters don't understand, like a lot of us do, that our country's all run by the same people. You know what I mean? Like nothing changes because it's run all by the same people. They don't understand that. A lot of voters who are not really like as involved in it as we are, they keep vacillating between Democrats and Republicans because they're hoping for a change. Like a lot of Americans will be like, well, we can't afford our housing and healthcare costs are out of control and this and that, and we can't afford groceries. So we're going to vote this way. And then that person doesn't deliver. So then they go, oh, okay, well, that person didn't deliver. Let's try this person. And they keep going back and forth because a lot of them don't realize that like those things are not improving on purpose. You know what I mean? Like those things are not going to improve on purpose because that's the way our society is structured. That's the way capitalism has brought us to this point, and that's the way the Democrats and Republicans have structured it that neither of them are going to fix these fundamental issues in our country because they profit and their incentives tell them not to. But voters still haven't, by and large caught on to that. They still think like, oh, a certain president's going to fix it. Thank you so much, Creflo, for the super chat. The left is like herding cats. Instead of recommending 3-hour video essays and 500-page book. For real, though. For real. That is so true. Especially since like a lot of people in this country don't have a reading level past like 5th grade. Media keeps people ignorant. Well, that's the reason why we have to have a better media infrastructure. Media does keep people ignorant, and we don't really have an organized left fighting back against that. Like, where is it? Yeah, exactly. After what happened after the George Floyd protest? Nothing. They didn't do anything. Oh, except for they kneeled in kente cloth. Brooklyn Dad, oh my gosh. Yes, those people are specifically there to do propaganda on behalf of the Democratic Party. Like, and it's so embarrassing. We need people that are actually on the left, okay? Brooklyn Dad compliant. Oh, it's funny. I'm told Americans have a first world education system. Is that true? No. No. I think we're done with two-term presidents because a lot of voters do the "my life is better than it was 4 years ago" calculus, and because we're living in declining empire. Exactly. Exactly. And things are always going to be worse. That's what I kind of meant when I said Americans haven't really caught on yet to the fact that it's the entire system. It's not one party or the other, that it's going to continue to go back and forth with a lot of Americans thinking that if they just vote for Democrats or if they just vote for Republicans, it's going to change it and it's going to make it better. But on the fundamental things that actually really matter to those voters, things like housing costs and health care and their kids' education, none of those things are fundamentally going to change because none of our politicians work on behalf of the people. They work on behalf of those interests. So they're not going to change. So Trump is not going to do anything about those things, not about childcare, not about none of it. So then in 4 years from now, when people are continually suffering under the weight, when 4 years from now, when people are continuing to suffer under the crushing weight of our failing, crumbling empire in late stage capitalism, they're going to go, you know what? I feel like my life was better 4 years ago. I think it's time to vote for a Democrat again. Or they'll go, my life wasn't great 4 years ago, but it's even worse under Trump. So I guess I'll vote for a Democrat again. Like it's just back and forth, back and forth. No, the American dream does not exist. Yeah, this is the take. This is the take for the person who asked about the education. America does have great everything if you have the money to afford it. Yeah, like if you have a lot of money, yeah, there are great colleges here and great private schools. If you don't, bye. Like, that's like how it is. And you know what's really funny is that Republicans are actually about to make that a lot worse because they want to privatize education. And what that means is continuing to defund public education. So poor and middle class and lower middle class, because middle class actually doesn't really exist anymore, and working class kids don't get a good education. And then they're going to funnel taxpayer money to give school vouchers to rich people. Whenever they say, I want you guys to understand that whenever they say school choice, they're talking about giving rich people vouchers to send their kids to school at taxpayer expense. That's what that means. It doesn't mean a choice for you. Yeah, but Latino voters were not the only people that voted for him. Like, it wasn't just Latinos. He won, like, a lot of people. Yeah, the way our health insurance system here runs is a joke. Is a joke. Have I been outside the USA? No, except for Canada, but we know that doesn't really count. But I do know that our healthcare system is an insane scam. But again, that's something that will not be fixed because they have a profit incentive not to fix it. The fact that we even have, first of all, the fact that our health insurance is tied to our jobs is a joke, is an actual joke. Your health insurance should not be tied to your job. Second of all, your health insurance, we shouldn't have healthcare companies. Like, that's just a middleman scam. I thought Republicans are always like, middlemen, bureaucracy, like deregulation. But like then when it comes to healthcare companies, they want to keep them all. These private healthcare companies. Why? What do they do? What do they do? All they are is middlemen. They're for-profit mafia middlemen who come to collect money from you that you could just be giving to the doctor. Why? But as I was saying, the fundamental things in this country that really need change, that really need reform, will not happen because the Democrats and the Republicans all work for the same donors. They all work for the same people, and they have a financial incentive not to fix those things. So healthcare will not be fixed. If anything, Trump's going to take what little of it we have away. I got a $15K bill for my recent hospital visit. That's crazy. Yeah, I lost my health insurance too when I lost my job. It sucks. Abandon the duopoly. Yeah, tell me about it. This is what I would say, and I say this as somebody who has voted Democrat many times. My thing is now, no more votes for losers who don't care about representing us, and no more votes because they threaten us with things being worse under a Republican. That is what I'm tired of. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of being held hostage. I'm tired of the Democratic Party holding their voters hostage. Holding their voters hostage and saying, you need to vote for us or else. You need to vote for us or else Trump, or else fascism, or else Republicans, or else, or else, or else. And they don't offer anything. I'm tired of that. I'm not voting as a hostage anymore. I'm not allowing the Democratic Party to take me hostage any longer. And I think that everybody should do the same. I don't think that you should be voting for a party that holds you hostage every single time there's an election and doesn't offer you anything, but then goes vote for me or else what little you have will also be taken away. When are we going to stop accepting that? Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, Kay. Thank you for being so well informed. Favorite resource you recommend folks to be better informed in addition? Oh, thank you. Yeah, everybody should, if you guys not have two things I would recommend right off the bat that I think are really, really good books. If you're talking about books, I don't know if you're talking about books or if you're talking about podcasts, but the book The Israeli Lobby by John Mearsheimer is really good. I feel like that should be required reading. Everybody should have to read that. And then Larry Lessig, where is it? Wrote a book. Do they have it? Yes. This book by Larry Lessig is also really good. Wait, I'm trying to share my screen. This book right here. Larry Lessig's Republic Lost: How Money in Politics Corrupts Congress and a Plan to Stop It. This is a really good book. And for people who prefer audio, it looks like there's an audiobook too. I feel like those things are really good places to start. Oh, thank you again, Kay, for the super chat. Reading list is excellent suggestion. Yes, that, but I also think that we need to make like a resource list for people who like reading or have a hard time reading, or for people who prefer to listen, but also things that are like, smaller bite-sized things, because that's the other thing. Like, I feel like we were talking about this earlier. Those of us on the left are a lot of times like, read this and read that, and we'll give like dissertations and like really like heavy materials that a lot of people, a lot of Americans, like we have to think of it this way. We're not trying to talk to people that are already on the left, right? If we want to build a coalition of a lot of people, we need to be talking to two types of people: non-voters, many of which are low information voters and not as well educated, right? And people who are progressive that right now are in the Democratic Party but are dissatisfied with it and can be pulled to the left. Those are the two people we need to be talking to. And a lot of it, that's why everything is important, right? Like, we need books and we need reading and we need academics, but we also need podcasts and people who do TikTok and people who are comedians and all kinds of different things that can pull people in and listen to our message and our agenda. We need to be going after like so many other types of people. But yeah, starting with those books, Norm Finkelstein is wonderful. I want to read, I haven't read it yet, The Holocaust Industry or something like that. Like, it's called like the Holocaust Industry something. And there should also be like, places we highlight, encouraging people to follow certain things on Instagram. The working class, you got to talk to the working class. Exactly. Exactly. And I understand this. I know this because I am working class. I am a working class person and I grew up in poverty. And I'm literally the voter that they're talking about. Low propensity. I didn't vote until 2016 because I didn't think it was worth it. I grew up poor, was poor my entire life. I am uneducated. I'm a non-college educated person. I didn't even like go to school. So, and the Democrats don't speak to people like me. That's how I know that their message is a fucking loser message, because any like view that I've always had of them, it's been that they're fucking snobs, because they are. Sad how Finkelstein is a transphobe. I don't know. Where did you get that? Did you hear about Hassam Shabbat? I saw that he got targeted by the Israeli regime, which, by the way, do you guys remember that he actually was put on a list by the Israeli regime not that long ago where they said they were going to target him? Schumer said, drop blue car libs for suburban conservatives. Yeah, how'd that work? How'd that work? What an idiot. What an idiot. It didn't work. Okay, that is the kind of stuff. If that's the case, he said that he didn't like wokeism. To conflate that with him being transphobic, and I really hope that's not what you're saying, is absurd. Like, I hope that's not what you're saying. Are you really saying that because he said he hated wokeism, that makes him transphobic? Because that's absurd. I hope that's not what you're saying. Hey, look at that. Donald James has been a member for 1 month. 1 month milestone. Yay! Thank you, Donald. Yay! No, I want the person who said that. Who was the person that said it? I want the person that said that Norm Finkelstein was transphobic to explain why. How? He did in an interview with Do Dissidents, and it was, and they talk about it. Okay. What are you guys talking about? Like, I need evidence. Is it on YouTube? Wait, Sassy, what are you thinking defense for? Okay, I'm missing some context too. This person is saying, "Oh, hey, Iori, uh, somebody said that Norm Finkelstein was transphobic." Then I said, "How is he transphobic?" But nobody has answered the question. Like, how is he transphobic? All right, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Nobody's answering the question. Is you said it was on YouTube? Somebody or on Do Dissidents? Hmm. Did I spell Do Dissidents wrong? Oh, I did. Lol. See? What did I tell you? Uneducated. Is this what you Is this what you guys were referring to? All right, well, this is 2.5 hours, so I ain't reading all that right now. If somebody wants to send a clip to the Discord, I'll look at it, but I do think it's interesting though that it's a very left for somebody to be talking about. We're talking about something like how to engage more people or how to reach more people, and immediately someone's like, yeah, but don't you know they're problematic? Like that, like to me is like, and by the way, I'm not saying that to say that it would be okay if he's transphobic if he were, because obviously I'm pro-trans, I am trans. So, and even if I wasn't, I'm pro-transgender. So pro-trans rights. But I do think it is funny that that's kind of always the left reaction. Like the second we're like, we really need to reach people, someone's like, yeah, but what about transphobia? Okay. Because actually, the thing is, if we're actually trying to reach people, if we're actually interested in that, and that's my thing too, is that I think a lot of people on the left aren't interested in reaching people. Unfortunately, I think that there is definitely a contingent of the left that has absolutely no interest in movement building or changing the narrative, creating something better. Like they just want to be in a club. Like there's some people that are on the left that legit just want to be in a club. They want to be in a club, they want to be better than people. They do not want to actually like reach people, change people's minds, and build like a broader movement. If you aren't one of those people and you are one of the people that actually want to build a broader movement, a broader coalition, you're going to have to realize that you're going to encounter people that are transphobic. And the goal should be to try to change their minds, not to just run away from them. Like that's how we keep losing, guys. Like that's how we keep losing. Again, I'm not saying tolerate rabid transphobia. Like I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you meet someone and you might want to reach them, or somebody that you think is like a cool person and they have some transphobic views or some ignorant views, wouldn't the better response be to try to like educate them and change their minds, instead of doing what the left also always does, where we go, ugh, that person's problematic, blocked. Yes, I understand, Russ, that woke has the definition of being aware of, systemic issues, but that's not really what it means anymore. Definitions change, and that the word woke has definitely been co-opted by the right to basically mean, because they don't really have a definition for it either, to basically mean anything left. Gosh, that loser who runs Libs of TikTok, that psychotic Zionist that runs Libs of TikTok, she's actually a great example of how the right amplifies each other's message and helps each other out. She started TikTok as just some random bigot, and then she got picked up by Fox News. She was on Tucker Carlson's show. Then she started working with Ben Shapiro, and they all share her shit. Like, that is an example of how they all work together to help each other and to spread their message. Because that bigoted account has been very influential on people, on making people think that their enemy is some random trans teacher living somewhere in California with no power. They think, oh, the random trans teacher living in California with no power is really the person I need to worry about. That's how they do it. Yeah, they do spread their message very well. And the left sucks at it, and the left doesn't have a coordinated message. The left sucks at it. The left is not organized. We don't have a coordinated message, and we don't work with each other. The left is not coordinated. We're not good at spreading messages the way that the right is, and we don't work with each other and lift each other up the way that the right works with each other and lifts each other up. The right works with each other and lifts each other up, while the left goes, I don't want to talk to you. You're problematic. I don't want to talk to you. You're problematic. Oh, you shouldn't go on Piers Morgan show because he's problematic. It's like, how do you think they ended up dominating the media airwaves? I've always been trans. I'm non-binary. Pronouns they, them. What happened to Tommy Lauren is that she got replaced. She's just not good at it, you know? She comes across as very, like, preachy and boring. She doesn't have any, like, pizzazz, you know? The economy has proven to be the number one issue, and it should be the focus. Yes, but again, the reason why the Democrats don't focus on the economy, or why they don't focus on problems like housing and rent and food and healthcare, is because they don't want to, because that would mean that they would actually have to take on corporate greed. It would mean that they would have to take on the healthcare companies and the pharmaceutical companies and the hedge funds that are buying up all the residential properties. They don't want to do that. The problem with left unity is we already tried it in the 20th century, and it ended with one party destroying worker control, backstabbing disagreeing allies, and Stalin purging the rest. Wait a second. So you're saying that because the left got destroyed, and has been destroyed and continues to get destroyed, that means that we should never try to build any kind of movement in the left? We should just let the right wing have all of it, and the centrist Democrats? Like, what are you saying? Yeah, but if we want to try to win anyone over, we need to stop with this kind of stuff. Well, the left is socialism, communism, and anarchism. Okay, well, not everybody identifies that way. I don't. I don't know what I am, but I don't think we should make people decide whether or not they're a proper anarchist or socialist or communist, or whether they've read Marx if they're going to join the left. You guys, some people just want to be able to pay their bills. And we need those people too. I don't even know who Dissidents is. I've never seen them. Though I'm not saying those people aren't the left. That is the left. But what I'm saying is the left needs to make room for unaffiliated people who, haven't read Marx. Like, if the left is just going to be like, oh, you have to be this way, well, then there will be no left movement. It'll continue to be a loser movement, just like it has been for decades. The left has been non-existent. It's fine. Yes, there's going to be people on the left, but there needs to be a populist. Wait, who said anything about authoritarians? I don't want an authoritarian leader. Yeah, I don't want an authoritarian leader. What I'm also saying is all those labels are fine if that's how you want to identify yourself. What I'm also saying is if you actually care about wanting to build any type of power or change anything, you need to have a broader coalition that includes populists that may be unaffiliated. They're not well-read, college-educated scholars who've read Marx and Engels, but they care about populist things and can be moved to the left or are on the left in a populist fashion. That's what I'm saying. There needs to be room for those kinds of people. You can't build a populist movement without it, especially since actual like communists and anarchists are and all that kind of stuff are niche. They're very niche. It's a very small percentage of the population. Very, very, very small percentage of the population. You need to left. You need to make room for the mom that is too tired to do any of that shit and she wants to be able to feed her kids. You need to make room for that. You need to make room for the guy that didn't go to college and isn't going to go to college and works as a mechanic and also just wants to pay his bills and get health insurance. You need to make room for that. One of the problems that the liberals have, that the Democratic Party has, is that they're snobs. They're elite snobs that are unrelatable, that are not relatable. The left also has that problem. The left has a problem of being snobby and being non-relatable to people. So, like, if you are interested in getting people to join your side, you need to cut that shit out. Do you guys want to watch the what is his name? Guys, I don't even know why people are arguing about wokeness in the comments because that really was like a non-factor during this election. That's not what people voted on. Actually look at the exit polls and the polling that came out from the election. Like, that's not what people were voting on. No one like cared. Like, the Republicans tried to make that happen. The Republicans tried to like do the whole, oh, Kamala's campaign is so woke. They're running on wokeness. That literally was like people ignored it. It was not what people voted on. Bill Burr, what about him? Yeah, DeSantis tried to run that whole anti-woke thing and it like failed. Like no one liked him still. Biological males in sports was 100% a sleeper issue for some moms. Yeah, maybe some, but those types of people that were going to vote on that incredibly niche issue, there aren't even that many trans people in the country, let alone trans people who also want to play sports. So the moms who cared about trans people in sports, 100% were already going to vote Republican. I'm telling you right now, there was not a single person, okay, in the country, not a single mom that was like, you know what? I'm going to vote for Democrats. I was going to vote for Democrats almost on everything else, on democracy, on healthcare, on wages. But I heard that there's like 3 trans people in the country that might be competing in a sports league somehow. So, I guess I'm just going to have to vote down ballot Republican. Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. It was never a thing. The moms that were going to do that we're already going to vote Republican already. Like, I actually can't stand this stupid ass trans people in sports argument when there literally aren't even that many trans people in the country, let alone trans people who are playing sports. It is such a red herring. Hello. It might seem to you that the right wing has everything going on, but really does not. Many people on the right are in the same position that you feel like you were in. Yes, the Republicans are hurting trans people all over the country. And that, if we're going to be talking about trans issues, should be the focus, not trans people in sports. We should be making fun of people that make a big deal about that because it's not. It's like Nancy Mace trying to make a big thing about trying to exclude the trans woman coming into Congress about the bathroom thing when, like, this loser lives in a district where a ton of people can't even read. Okay? Nancy Mace lives in a poor ass district with a bunch of people who can't read. And she wants to be running around pretending like she's some savior for women's rights. Get out of here. True, the Republicans get screwed by people just as much as the Democrats. Well, of course, because they're going to, even if you put aside all the social policy, the thing is that there is a persisting myth that Republicans are good with the economy when they're not. They're not. Do you guys want to watch the Piers, but do you condemn Hamas Morgan thing with Kyle Kalinske somebody was talking about earlier? Yes, the right does a little bit of purity testing, but not really. Then they'll bring them in and go, well, as long as you can be good for our purposes. They like use people who are marginalized for their purposes. I don't know. I haven't seen it. So I'd be watching it with you guys for the first time. All right, let's watch it. If anything, we can make fun of some of the people. I don't agree, Poker. I think Matt Taibbi is a joke. Matt Taibbi's so embarrassing. First of all, Matt Taibbi sold out just so that he could get cucked by Elon Musk. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. If you're going to sell out, like, get something for it. He sold out just to be blown off by Elon Musk, which is so embarrassing. And second of all, I love how, have you guys noticed that all the people that were really like up in arms about the Twitter regime being censorious when it was not run by Elon Musk suddenly don't care? Where are the Twitter files, guys? Why isn't Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger on the case? Why aren't they on the case? Why aren't they showing us the Twitter files of all the pro-Palestinian accounts that are getting targeted? Why aren't they showing us the fact that Elon Musk rigged the algorithm so that his tweets always get seen and the right-wing Zionist tweets always get seen? Where are the Twitter files on that? Oh, they don't care? Right. Oh yeah, Wander. I watched that. Yeah, okay, so let's watch this Piers Morgan thing. I forgot to ask everybody to like the stream. Please like the stream. Apparently, that's like a good thing if you like the stream on YouTube, if you're watching it on YouTube. Please like the stream and share it or whatever you're supposed to do. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please become a member on either my Ko-Fi or my Patreon if you want to support my work and what I do and uplift more leftists. Also, make sure to join the Discord if you're not already in the Discord. And in the Discord, we should start a thread where we do book recommendations, podcast recommendations, and I want to start a list of everybody in media that you guys love, like a list of like who are all the podcasters you love, who are all the leftist YouTubers you love. We need like a list. We need a list going. And also feel free to send super chats here. Also, if you want to support my work, you can donate to my Venmo or any other ways that we do this. Thank you. Which, by the way, leads me to this. Thank you so much for the super chat, AK. I'm trapped at work. Happy belated, and yes, agree about the left needs to less Puritan. Yes, yes. Oh, that sucks that you're trapped at work. Well, maybe you can still listen. I used to, when I was working in an office, I used to always listen to podcasts and stuff and like live streams while I was at work. Because I was still doing my job, you know, but Greg Stoker, he is great. I really like him. We follow each other on TikTok. Richard Wolf is great too. Yeah, we need to get a list going. Also, maybe somebody can help me with the Discord thing because I keep having this issue where people tell me that they try to get into the Discord and that the link that's on my YouTube doesn't work, even though I took off the deadline. Like, there's an area in Discord where it says, like, make the invitation not have an end date or an expiration. And I did that, and yet it's still expiring. Maybe somebody can help me with that. Because I would like to be able to put all of these things in one place. You know what I mean? Okay, let me look up this thing. Okay. Piers, but do you condemn Hamas, Morgan?
I never, ever thought I would say anything like this.
Shut up. He's such a Zionist shill. Okay. Where is it? I don't see him. Which one was he in? Jillian Michaels? Why is Jillian Michaels on the panel? Can I make fun of one thing really quick? Jillian Michaels is such a hack, okay? She's trying to get involved in like right-wing politics now because everybody knows that when it comes to her health stuff, she's a grifter and a failure and was responsible for a bunch of people on The Biggest Loser gaining all their weight back. She had scam diet pills. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on this grift that Jillian Michaels is trying to rebrand herself with. Yeah. Don't even get me started. Okay, I wasn't going to do Emma, though. I wanted to do the Kyle Kalinske one. Does anybody know which episode he's in? Because I don't see his photo. Let me try. You know, I'll just put his name in. How do you spell Kalinske? Oh, these are people covering it, though. I want to see the actual, like, video. Which one is he in? Oh, is he in this one? Okay, it appears he's in the one with Harry Sisson. Oh my gosh, Harry Sisson is such a little hack. He's such a little hack. I already didn't really like Harry Sisson very much. I already thought he was a hack, but I was kind of like, you know, he's harmless in a way at first. And then I saw the way that he treated Jamal Bowman and Corey Bush after they lost. I was like, wow, you are a shill. But thank you for letting us know that you despise the left and anything left of like Abigail Spanberger. Okay, so it's this one.
I think Kamala ran basically the platonic ideal of a non-woke Democratic campaign.
What's the future of the Democrats? Who would you like to see run the party now?
Jon Stewart. Honestly, a controversial, charismatic celebrity might make all of the difference.
Possibly the loss would have been worse if Taylor Swift and folks like Oprah weren't working with Kamala Harris.
Although Taylor Swift is popular, obviously she's not that popular because she did not move the needle.
Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut up juice. You live in a total world of denial.
I read your own followers' comments and they all trashed you.
I mean, brother, I said what was going to go wrong. It did go wrong. I was right.
It's lovely to
You
see a
need one.
post-election
Finish your
harmony as you all
goddamn
come
point.
together again.
You should not be taking cheap shots at me, and I won't stand for it.
Hey, Alan, shh.
Piers Morgan, I love the way that he like does his show like it's a fucking reality TV show. It's like, oh my gosh, but it works for him. I love Nina Turner. Sorry, who's the wig guy? Okay, that is the guy that they kept trotting out to say that he was so great when it came to predictions, that he had predicted with his model of like 13 keys every single election for the last, like, what was it, 10 cycles or something? And he predicted that Kamala Harris was going to win and she lost. Also embarrassing already. Harry Sisson being like, well, if it wasn't for the celebrity endorsements, it's like, bro, this is what I mean when I say they learn nothing. This is what I mean when I say the Democrats have learned nothing, will learn nothing, have learned out here. Like, no, guys, if it weren't for the Taylor Swift and Oprah endorsement, they would have lost even worser. Like, oh yeah, the Jamon. I saw that interview too, and I actually have a lot of thoughts on that. I thought it was good, but it also kind of annoyed me at the same time. The one with Jamal Bowman. All right, let's start it. I am going to run out for a second because I really gotta pee.
The quest into the shock death of the Democratic Party has so far proved inconclusive. The only clear message emerging from the ruminations, as with the campaign itself, is that the orange man is still back. Just about nobody on the left can agree on why the orange man therefore won by a landslide and what should happen next. Here's just a snapshot of views from the masterminds who were wrong about, well, almost everything.
It is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before, a lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
and
of
with other Hispanics. You've got some that don't like each other.
The working class of this country is angry, and they have a reason to be angry.
I don't respect him saying that the Democratic Party has abandoned the working class families. That's where we are.
Elon Musk is, I don't know how many hundreds of billions he has. He has been the director of misinformation.
And this idea that, like, oh no, the economy is actually good or crime is actually down, or this is all just Fox News. Like, shut the fuck up with that. Like, talk to some people who live near you.
I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed.
I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates.
Exactly. Whatever the prescription should ultimately be, the diagnosis is surely crystal clear. Trump has made commanding inroads with working class voters, black voters, Latino voters, urban voters, and young voters. It's a veritable rainbow coalition of disaffected people who are Democrats.
First of all, I had to double check before I came in that this wasn't Boomer Mars' show. I was like, wait, what? Also, no, stop, baby. I thought it was I thought it was a man. Boomer Mar is so out of touch. He's so out of touch. He thinks it was wokeness. Like, this is so embarrassing. Also, I love how Piers Morgan pretends like he is not a huge Trump supporter. Like, he pretends that he just tells it like it is. I just call balls and strikes, but not really. Like, he's such a right-winger. He's such a conservative. It's like a joke. And then he's like, no, I'm not biased. Okay, whatever, dude. All right. Did I miss anything else besides that? I actually think that I actually think that I just lost my train of thought. Oh, you guys, I've had a very, very long day. I just lost my train of thought. Okay, maybe I'll re-get it. I don't remember. I'm gonna put it at 1.25 speed though. Because 1.25 I think is still relatively slow, but it's a little faster. Okay.
Respect him saying that the Democratic Party has abandoned the working class families. That's where we are.
Elon Musk.
I don't care if you respect it or not. It's true.
I don't know how many hundreds of billions he has. He has been the director of misinformation.
And this idea that like, oh no, the economy is actually good or crime is actually down, this is all just Fox News. Like, shut the fuck up with that. Like, talk to some people who live near you.
I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. She had Queen Latifah never endorsed anyone. She came out and endorsed.
Not Queen Latifah. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. This really was a flawlessly run campaign. When does Queen Latifah endorse? I forgot Queen Latifah existed. But not the Queen Latifah endorsement. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. How embarrassing.
For you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid.
Your debut on a firm belief that everyone who disagrees with them is a moron or a bigot. Well, joining me for an uncensored battle for the heart and soul of the Democratic Party, the host and founder of the Young Turks, Chen Yuga, presidential historian and pollster Professor Alan Lichtman, Democrat influencer Harry Sisson, and author of New Prize for These Eyes, a senior political analyst at Fox News 1, Williams. Well, welcome to all of you. One in particular, a long time since I've spoken to you. Great to have you, I think, making your debut on Uncensored, so thank you very much. This is blue on blue, chaps, so you can rip into each other to your heart's content, and hopefully out of it, we may get some form of consensus over certain ways that the Democrats could go. Well, let me start with you. When you look at the election, and you look at the thumping win Trump got, and who he won it with, do you think this whole campaign by the Democrats to portray him as racist, sexist, transphobic, Islamophobic, a Nazi, blah, 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 did they just over-egg the devilment souffle and just in the end play into his hands?
Well, I think they thought, based on the numbers, that this was going to be an effective form of attack. And I think it was for the base of the party. But I think that there were a lot of people who were attracted to other parts of Trump. And I think the whole macho man thing, it worked. You know, you were talking about a rainbow coalition. No, it wasn't a rainbow coalition. But I think that you saw white men still go big for Trump. You saw the Latino men. And I think that's the big story of the election. Latino men suddenly went towards Trump. And there were some black men. I think it was a male thing. And I think, again, you know, the idea that he said offensive, vulgar things about women, the fact that he is, and, you know, says he wants to be an authoritarian. That's all true. But I think a lot of the men said, you know what, we like it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, Professor Lichtman, you correctly forecast the result of 9 of the past 10 US presidential elections, but not this one. Like
a lot of the men, yes, that is true. But they're also discounting the economy, the amount of people that just stayed home, the fact that they way overplayed their hand on Roe v. Wade, and the fact that he actually made gains with women as well, Latino women, like a decent gain. We keep only talking about the Latino men, but he made gains with Latino women too, and Asian women.
Most pollsters have to say very, very few people predicted a big win, other than I might, if I may be so modest, I did. I went on Fox News 10 days before with Brian Kilby and said, I think he's going to win big. But actually, most people thought we'd be incredibly tight and it could go either way and so on. But it wasn't that at all. Why do you think Trump is so difficult to poll? Which is clearly the conclusion I would draw from this.
Well, you know, I am forthrightly willing to admit I missed this election. I still think I actually had 10 out of 10 before. I think I was right about 2000, but we're not here to litigate that. I still
Thanks,
think
Easy. I am married.
Now, I think two things were
no wedding ring.
Number one, I was incredibly critical at the time of the spineless, cowardly Democrats openly and viciously trashing their elected president and their elected nominee right out there in the open.
Okay, this guy is pretending like he is accepting that he was wrong, but he's really not accepting he's wrong. He's like, okay, I accept that I'm wrong, but yeah, Latins have been saying that they care about the economy, interest rates too. I mean, that is true. They have been attacking the Latino voter and being like, oh my gosh, they're just like so sexist. It's just a lot of machismo and like all this other shit. It's like a lot of Latinos, if you actually look at the polling a year before the election, every time they were polled, they talked about the economy, the economy, the economy, the economy, jobs, the economy. And then Democrats turned around and was like, well, don't you care about immigration? You're like, Mexican or whatever, right? Like that was basically the response. And then when they lost, they turned around and just called them sexist. It's like, great strategy.
I have never seen that before, and I've studied American politics since the founding, and that tainted any nominee. And they're now taking no responsibility for that. They're blaming everybody else. Until they look in the mirror, the Democratic Party is going to be in trouble. Secondly, why did my keys miss? Because my keys are based upon the proposition that...
Wait, his answer was the Democratic Party demonized their nominee? They're talking about Biden? They demonized the nominee, and that's why they lost? Man, these people are so out of touch. This is amazing. They're so out of touch. Yeah. And then their answer is, oh, just like get rid of disinformation, which means they want to shut down any type of independent media and they want to force you guys only to be able to listen to like MSNBC. Remember Jen Psaki said that last week? Jen Psaki was being interviewed and she was like, it's just like disinformation. We're just allowing way too much disinformation. And when they say disinformation, they just mean information that isn't official coming from like corporate media.
Rational electorate decides whether or not the White House party is governed well enough to get 4 more years. That was exploded this time by a new wave of disinformation that we've never seen before. In addition to the usual sources of disinformation, we had a huge change this time. A 300 billionaire, a guy who's richer than most countries of the world, who controls X, spreading vast disinformation. According to reports, billions upon billions of viewers saw his disinformation. People.
Okay, that's true, but why didn't you factor that into your calculation, bro? Why? Like, yes, there was a lot of propaganda disseminated from Elon Musk. A lot. Yeah, that is true. But we knew that 7 months ago. So why didn't you guys factor that in? Oh, thank you so much, Benny, for the super chat. The very generous $20 super chat. Thank you. Please look up Blair White being told she needs to grow facial hair. It's kind of old. But she's talking with the right traditional Christians who will never want her on the right. Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. But that's the thing, is that the right wing will use anybody in order to get their agenda passed. Because, again, the right wing are very serious about power. So if they can use a trans person for their own purposes, they will. And a lot of them do. You see Blair White getting, like, retweeted and like by psycho right wingers all the time. But yeah, I will look that up. And thank you again for the super chat. Yeah, Blair White is so full of shit. Of course she is. She is one of these people, like a lot of them, where they have made the calculation that it is a lot more profitable to throw your own community under the bus for money. And it is. It is a lot more profitable. Look at Rave Dubin. Remember that story came out and said he was getting like $1 million for just like putting out a few videos. Like that's the kind of dark money that these people are like throwing around and playing with. And so he'll throw, gay people under the bus like it ain't no thing. Yeah.
Completely distorted view
What
of the
was the
economy.
disinformation? Okay,
Inflation is
let me
going
pin
up.
you down on that. Though. You say Elon Musk was spreading disinformation. Like what?
He spread a lot of disinformation. He spread a lot of lies and propaganda. What are you talking about? He did. That's not the question. The question should be, like, Elon Musk lied about voter fraud. He lied about immigration over and over again. He lied about crime. Like, there was a ton of things he lied about. But That's not the question. If you already knew that Elon Musk was spreading misinformation and using his platform to do propaganda on behalf of the Republican Party and on behalf of Trump, which he was using the platform to manufacture consent and do propaganda for the right wing and Trump. Why didn't you factor that into your election calculation? Why didn't you talk about that? Why didn't Alan Lichtman talk about it before? Why didn't Alan Lichtman talk about it beforehand? Why didn't he factor that into his calculation beforehand? Now it's all Monday morning quarterbacking it. But again, we're not going to find Matt Taibbi or Schellenberger, being on the case about, those Twitter files because they're full of shit.
Yes, he is spreading vast disinformation that's sunk in. Even people who think their own financial situation is pretty good think inflation is going up when it's been cut by 75%, that unemployment is a near high when it's near a low.
On that.
Okay. Oh, thank you for the super chat, AS. I appreciate that. Nice to see Piers on Cenk Uncensored. No, that's not even true because he always interrupts him. He always interrupts Cenk on his show, but he will never notice this. Okay, I'm telling you guys right now, and I want you to notice it going forward. Whenever Cenk is on, Piers, but do you condemn Hamas Morgan? With the exception, I think, of this panel. I think at one point he actually lets him finish, and that's because he agrees with him. There's one thing Cenk says he agrees with, so he lets him finish. Otherwise, he always interrupts Cenk, but he never interrupts Zionists. Whenever Zionists are on the panel, he'll never interrupt them.
Point. See, that's interesting. You would say that's disinformation, but the point is that inflation is still not zero. Therefore, prices are still going up. Therefore, people.
The only way you get inflation to zero is with a recession.
Yeah, but here's my point.
Obviously.
Here's my point. Yeah, but here's my point. Democrats kept telling the American people rather arrogantly, I thought, the economy is in really good shape. Meanwhile, inflation still exists. In other words, prices have continued to go up and up and up, albeit not at the same rate they were going up. But if it wasn't zero, and it wasn't, it was like 2.5% or whatever by the end, that is still inflation. So it's not disinformation to say
the only
Americans
way you
are still
get it to
suffering
zero
inflation.
is a recession, is deflation. That's ridiculous. Inflation has been cut by 80%, but it's not just inflation that people.
Yeah, the inflation thing was not even the thing, by the way. That wasn't even the thing. This is so annoying. It's just that the Republicans are so much better about lying on the economy. They're so much better about lying about the economy. Remember how Trump and the Republicans said that we were going to be in a recession the entire time. Ben Shapiro would come on his show every fucking day for the last 4 years and say we were about to have a recession. So he could sell gold bars to his naive listeners. He'd be like, we're about to have a recession, about to have a recession. We weren't about to have a recession. He was just saying that to sell gold bars and scare people, but we weren't. The fact of the matter is the Biden administration did get inflation down. They did a lot better with inflation than most countries did around the world. And they did clean up the economy. It's just that the problem is that they're working to fix the economy for people who are rich enough to benefit from it. It doesn't help the poor or the working poor. That's the difference. The economy was cleaned up and helped a lot for the stock market and for Fed rates, and for business, but and for upper middle class people. But it didn't do anything for regular people are not affected by the stock market. They didn't do anything about fundamental things like banning hedge funds from buying up residential properties and then bidding on them.
People are wrong about.
But do you accept inflation means prices are still going up? Do you accept prices are still
Or
going
rent.
up? Of course. Right, so that's
always
the point.
do unless
But
you have a recession.
That's not disinformation.
That's ridiculous.
Is it? By Elon Musk,
and
that
it's
isn't
disinformation
disinformation.
about every other aspect of the economy as well. Disinformation about undocumented immigrants, like they're the bloodthirsty killers. They are the most law-abiding segment of our society. According to numerous studies, including by the Libertarian Cato Institute, they commit crimes, including violent crimes, less than half of that of Native Americans. And they don't drain our economy. They are the mainstay of the agricultural, construction, personal service, hospitality industries. Studies show you will drive the economy into a recession if you go through large-scale deportation of immigrants, and you will sweep huge numbers of U.S. citizens because all the databases used to identify undocumented immigrants are fundamentally flawed. You can't have a pragmatic electorate under these conditions, and the mainstream media is utterly feeble. It spends 20 times more time on meaningless polls within the margin of error than it does telling truth to power and indicating the consequences of this election.
But it is okay. I'm going to come to
billionaires.
Okay, I'm going to come to Cenk. I mean,
Yeah, it is. It's true that our country is controlled by billionaires and moneyed interests, dark money interests, and corporations. But again, why are you just saying all this now? And yes, that is true. Undocumented immigrants commit crimes at way less levels. And the reason why I don't think that this whole ignoring that's what I was going to say. The reason why I don't think that they are going to do mass deportations is because of the fact that the economy would collapse without immigrants. Like, if they got rid of immigrants, the economy would absolutely collapse, and they know that. I think what they'll do is they will deport some, and then they'll go, look, we fixed immigration.
I mean, check, the biggest deporter in American presidential history was Barack Obama, who deported over 3 million people. This idea that Trump is going to become some outlier.
He loves to bring up that fact.
The great mass deporter was actually a Democrat president, Obama, by a long way, by the way. So this idea of disinformation, I think some of it was disinformation, but it's, I think the idea that this election was only won through right-wing disinformation, I'm afraid, I view that as a total delusion of the Democrats. Again.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm sorry, but I totally disagree with Juan and Professor Lichtman. Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but Juan, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. And look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were not right, and I was not wrong. And that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be taking cheap shots at me.
Who won? You live in a total world of denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah, right.
Personal
come find out again.
Make whatever point you want. Don't make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know anything.
You attacked me personally.
You're so deluded.
Right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program, I've never been able to finish a thought.
How many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again.
How many books have you published?
You got it wrong. You were preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just finish a goddamn thought ever on this show?
No, not if you're personally. I admitted I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Not to say it's great to see you Democrats all getting along so well.
Manners.
It's lovely to see a post-election party as you all come together against one right now.
Hey, Alan,
you deserve
shut up, Juice. So can you just shut up for a second and let someone who knows what they're doing?
You're so right, Piers. You're so right.
So
so
anything that you want. So I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me.
Guy
You
is
don't need
such
to
a
do that.
snob.
You don't
Blasphemy against you? Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser? Okay, can I just give the correct answer for once? Okay, here we go. So guys, you're blaming disinformation. There was disinformation. There was the cats and the dogs nonsense. The points you're making about undocumented immigrants, I agree with Alan, okay? But that didn't cost the election. The main disinformation was about how the election was going to be rigged. And it wasn't rigged. It was dumb. They won it easily. There was no need for that disinformation. You guys are missing the whole point. The people who are at fault are not other people. It is the candidate, Kamala Harris, the previous candidate, Joe Biden, Democratic Party, Democratic leadership. You guys don't want to admit that they're the problem. They're the cancer in the Democratic Party. So you blindly lash out at the voters, at information, at social media, and you want to shut down anyone who disagrees with you. That's not the correct answer. There are three wings.
Well, he's right about that. Jenks right about that. Jeffree Star said that non-binary people are cringe. Okay, so he would say I was cringe. And Matt Walsh said that he doesn't want Jeffree Star representing the right. Oh, it's coming. It's coming because Jeffree Star is a right-winger. Also, I'm pretty sure Jeffree Star is non-binary, no? Or at least I thought he was. Thank you, end result. Yeah, it's amazing. They're so elite. They just want to blame voters, blame voters. And yes, of course, there was disinformation. The Republicans always lie and say that there's election fraud when there's not and there's no evidence of it, which is why I'm sure a lot of you guys noticed all of the election fraud claims evaporated into smoke, thin air. They just evaporated. They poof, gone after it was announced that Trump won. That was weird.
Of the Democratic Party. There's the establishment wing that the great majority, almost everyone on television supports and kisses the ass up and does propaganda for. That wing has led to disaster. They lost to Donald Trump twice, nearly lost to him 3 times. And then the other wing is called the progressive wing, but those are two different sets of people. In the progressive, so-called progressive wing, what you have is the identitarian left, the people who do what the right wing would call woke politics and identity politics, and that is disastrous. That's what the trans ad was at the end, and it cost us. The most popular part of the Democratic Party is the populist left. That is the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign. That part says, let's do super popular economic proposals like paid family leave, higher minimum wage, universal health care.
Which was defeated. Totally. Like the corporate and establishment and professional managerial class of the Democrats, of the liberals, won that fight. Like they crushed the left, the Bernie movement left. Unfortunately.
The establishment wing that the great majority, almost everyone on television supports.
They're not going to learn.
This is the ass of and does propaganda for. That wing has led to disaster. They lost to Donald Trump twice, nearly immigrants. I agree with Alan, okay? But that didn't cost the election.
Yeah, also, the other thing is not only was that part of the Bernie movement defeated, but they have no interest in going back to that or ceding any ground to that. Like Democrats have absolutely, okay? Democrats absolutely have no interest in going toward any even form of Bernie Sanders populism. Like the Democrats, if Democrats actually wanted to learn a lesson, that's what they would do. But that's not what they're going to do. They're not going to do that. They're not going to go toward any form of Bernie Sanders populism at all. They are going to continue to double down on their corporate blue MAGA strategy and do more cowbell.
The main disinformation was about how the election was going to be rigged. And it wasn't rigged. It was dumb. They won easily. There was no need for that disinformation. You guys are missing the whole point. The people who are at fault are not other people. It is the candidate, Kamala Harris, the previous candidate, Joe Biden, Democratic Party, Democratic leadership. You guys don't want to admit that they're the problem. They're the cancer in the Democratic Party.
They blame
so
voters.
You blindly lash out at the voters and information and social media, and you want to shut down anyone who disagrees with you. That's not the correct answer. There are three wings of the Democratic Party. There's the establishment wing that the great majority, almost everyone on television supports and kisses the ass of and does propaganda for. That wing has led to disaster. They lost to Donald Trump twice, nearly lost to him 3 times. And then the other wing is called the progressive wing, but those are two different sets of people. In the progressive, so-called progressive wing, what you have is the identitarian left, the people who do what the right wing would call woke politics and identity politics, and that is disastrous. That's what the trans ad was at the end, and it cost us. The most popular part of the Democratic Party is the populist left. That is the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign. That part says, let's do super popular economic proposals like paid family leave, higher minimum wage, universal health care, public option. Let's do all of these things. And the establishment goes, no, our corporations don't want that. Our donors don't want that. So we'll just do identity politics. And maybe identity politics will unite the left. But it didn't. Identity politics led to disaster. It was a poison within the Democratic Party, used, ironically, by the establishment Democrats because they didn't want to talk about popular proposals that we have because their donors hate those proposals.
Okay, let me bring in Harry. Now, Harry, you tweeted or posted on X on November the 6th. Kamala Harris's speech was amazing. Graceful, strong, hit the right tone. She's a fantastic leader and a great role model. No idea how she lost to Trump. You're a bright young guy, Harry. I've interviewed you several times. Right? You know why she lost. And that speech, in a way, to me, was the perfect illustration. She basically said nothing. She talked about billions of stars in the moonlight and shining lights. And all. There was nothing there. There was no meat on the bone, no substance. And that was her problem throughout the whole campaign. She had 100 days to show America, here's how I'm going to fix all your problems. Instead, she did the Hillary Clinton playbook. After promising us joy and sunshine, immediately pivoted to Trump's a Nazi. They're all fascists. They're all disgusting.
She really didn't
and by the way,
Hillary
here are all my
Clinton
rich,
playbook,
famous
though.
entertainment friends who are all going to surround themselves on me on stages. Didn't work for Hillary. Didn't work for Kamala. And at some point, young guys like you who are the future of the...
I think that Cenk was more correct. I don't really Kamala Harris ran as much of a Hillary campaign except for the whole celebrity thing. Well, I guess she did do the Trump's a fascist and is going to end democracy thing too, and lack of substance. But she didn't run on identity politics the way that Hillary Clinton did. Like Hillary Clinton was the one who really made like identity politics like a big thing within the party in 2016. I'm a woman. I'm a woman. I'm a woman. You're sexist. Bernie Brow. La 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 la. But Kamala Harris didn't run on that at all. Kamala Harris did not even mention her gender or her race. But other than that, I think that what Cenk was saying was largely correct. I think where Cenk is wrong is that he thinks that the Democrats can be reformed and that the like Bernie wing is going to like take over when that's not going to happen. Because as he correctly diagnosed at the end there, the Democrats can't run on policy because the policy that everyone wants them to embrace, they can't because of their donors. They can't because of the people in charge of the party. Democratic voters, liberal voters, progressive voters largely want paid family leave, Medicare for all, higher minimum wage. They want, they're pro-Gaza. They're against the Israeli regime. They want all of those things, but the party will not give them those things because they can't, because it goes against their donors. So they only focus on culture war issues because those things don't get in the way of their donors. That part is true. Yeah, she definitely. Yeah, and Hillary Clinton, I think that was one lesson that Kamala Harris did learn from Hillary Clinton, was that Hillary Clinton leaned so much into the identity politics of I'm a woman, I'm the first, I'm with her, everyone who doesn't vote for me is a sexist birdie bro, that Kamala Harris was like, we probably shouldn't do that. And she was right about that. She didn't lean into that. But I actually feel like that Kamala Harris felt the need to be like even more right-wing and hawkish because she was trying to make up for the fact that she was a woman. No, Brian, that's not true. That's not true. Also, if that were really the case, if the Democrats were really trying to steal the election, then why didn't they? Why didn't they then? Why did New York, that also doesn't have voter ID, go like way less when it came to the way the Democrats voted than they usually do? Like Biden won it by like 20 points or something, and Kamala Harris only won it by like 7. Why did all these people vote for AOC and Trump at the same time? Like, it's the math isn't mathing here. Yeah, they never got hit on the campaign trail with Bernie Sanders. They decided that Liz Cheney was the person to go with, who literally has no voters. Like, no one likes Liz Cheney. That's why she lost her seat in a red state.
The Democrat Party. You've got to wake up and smell the cappuccino. You need a candidate that can resonate. I mean, Chenk's right. The Democrat candidate who has...
Democrat candidate, I like how Piers Morgan pretends like he's not a right-winger when that's a dead giveaway right there. Anyone who calls it the Democrat Party is a right-winger. Like, a liberal person isn't going to go out of their way to say that grammatically incorrect way unless they're doing propaganda for the right, which is it's so stupid. Democrat Party. It's just so dumb. The Republic Party.
Most resonated with the public was Bernie Sanders, right? You'd have done better with him running in this election.
True.
But you guys don't see it that way, do you?
Well, I think that since the election happened and sitting with it for a couple of weeks, I know why Kamala Harris lost. I think that what I said was premature. And I think it's a combination of what all the gentlemen around me are saying. I think it's like a middle ground in life, which I think is often the case, which is I think Professor Lichtman is right that there was a lot of disinformation pushed by a lot of bad actors in the right wing. But I think that Cenk and
there was Harry. There was disinformation from the left as well. When you keep calling him a Nazi,
but Piers, it's not to the same. It's not to the same level.
When you keep calling Donald Trump a Nazi and a fascist and all these things, and his supporters Nazi sympathizers, all that is total disinformation because he hasn't murdered 12 million people. He's not going to.
Well,
and by the way, you all know that. So the disinformation is on both sides.
I disagree with calling Donald Trump a Nazi or calling him Hitler. But I want to be clear that it was his own former advisors who called him that and likened him to Hitler. Kamala Harris never got on a stage and said, "Oh yeah, Trump's Hitler now." She just alludes to the fact and brought up the fact that his own former advisor said that. But I also want to make the point that I think that Cenk and the gentleman from Fox News is right when it comes to the economy. I think we were not great when it came to messaging the economy. The benefit that Trump had is that he could put his slogan on a yard sign. He could say, Kamala Harris, Democrats, high prices, Trump and Vans, low prices. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, was asked. Okay.
Listen, Harry, it's not just the messaging. It was the policy. It was the fact that people didn't feel the policy. Was it the messaging? Absolutely. Democrats suck at politics. They really do. They're trash. They're garbage. They're losers. They suck at messaging. They suck at politics. But it wasn't just the messaging. It wasn't messaging that made people not be able to afford their rent. It was both. It was both.
Because of external factors. Here's why gas prices went up. Obviously, it's not means external factors. If you're explaining, you're losing, as the famous saying goes. Yeah. So that was the uphill battle that we had. And I think there was kind of a perfect storm that led to Donald Trump being elected.
He's already
but you're missing something else. Missing something else, which is all the culture war stuff that we kept being assured by the left nobody cared about. No one cares about the trans debates, right? Nobody cares about biological.
Because that's not what people voted on.
They're invading women's personal spaces and so on and so on. No one cares that kids are being put through mutilating surgery before puberty. And we kept being told nobody cares about this. Leave them all alone. It's transphobic. I'm not transphobic. I wanted trans people, as I still do, to have fairness and equality.
No, this is bullshit. He's trying to get Harry to say, oh, it was because of wokeness that they lost. No, it wasn't. That's not what people were voting on. That's not even the type of campaign that she ran. This is what I'm saying. They'll poll people like they polled Latinos and go, why are you voting the way you do? And the Latino guys go, oh, we're voting this way because of the economy. And they go, oh, so it's because you're sexist. Oh, and people will be like, oh, why'd you vote the way you did? And they'll say like, oh, we voted this way because of jobs. And they'll go, oh, so you voted this way because of wokeness and trans people in sports. No. No, I get. No, I get. Why you
realize exactly the same as all of us on this panel. But when you keep telling people it is fair, on the one hand, Democrats said we protect women's rights on abortion. On the other hand, we're absolutely fine for women's rights in sport to be traduced at this ridiculous altar of biological men who are now trans women competing against women and beating them. You can't be both. So the public went, this is, and you're shaking your head, but look, the New York Times did a report about that ad, which the Trump campaign did so successfully and repeatedly. You know, Kamala's for they, them, Trump's for you. They reckon it moved the needle by 2.5
Oh my
points. It was the most
gosh.
successful and effective 30-second ad in modern political history. So people did care. And the Democrats were just too deluded, it seemed to me, because most of them, you must realize this issue of trans athletes in women's sport is wrong. You all know it's wrong. For some reason, you wouldn't get off that train. And that delusion was one of the reasons that you lost so badly, I believe.
But Piers, to Professor Lichtman's point, that ad in and of itself contained misinformation. The ad was saying, oh, Kamala Harris wants to pay for prisoners' transgender surgeries.
All right, said it a few years ago, but she said it.
But wait, hold on. In the New York Times also reported that this took place under Donald Trump's presidency as well, because depriving a trans prisoner the right to get gender-affirming care is, Shank, it's a law, it's a constitution, is against the Constitution of the United States, preventing cruel and unusual punishment. Because if somebody is deemed medically necessary to receive care, no matter what that care is, and you ban it or say, no, you can't get it, that absolutely falls under cruel and unusual punishment. So Donald Trump did the same thing. And that's an example of the disinformation, or at least the lack of context that Trump's campaign.
Do you accept, Harry? No.
So then why did Democrats talk about that?
Do you accept the so-called cultural stuff? I would frame as a kind of very, very far left progressive woke stuff. That I've seen a lot of Democrats in the more center part of the party coming out now and publicly saying what I was saying for a long time. Apparently, Bill Clinton kept warning them internally. David.
No, again, the right wing, like the Democrats ran a very anti-woke campaign. Okay, very anti-woke. This is ridiculous. They ran on woke. No. Oh my gosh.
Axel has come out and said, we've got to stop this. No, Joe Scarborough did a big monologue about it on Morning Joe. At some point, you've got to recognize.
Oh, no, not Joe Scarborough. Oh, I guess if Joe Scarborough did a monologue about it, then I guess we should care, because Joe Scarborough is really in the know. You know, who has their finger on the pulse of the American people more than Joe Scarborough? The same Joe Scarborough who just spent the last year saying that Trump was a fascist and this was Nazi Germany, only to go to Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ring once he won. Fuck out of here.
And that's one of the reasons you lost. And you've got to move on from it.
No.
Come back with another woke progressive platform in 4 years' time. You will be out of office potentially for 4 more, 8 more, maybe 12 more years. I promise you. Take it to the bank.
So, Piers, I agree to a degree, but not in the way that you're framing it. I think that we do have to move on from a lot of the culture war stuff. I don't like the word woke, but I understand the context of using it. I think that, yes, and to some degree, we have to move on. But by moving on, we shouldn't throw people under the bus. We shouldn't say, oh, you know, trans people are the reason why, or LGBTQ plus people are the reason why. That's not the reason why. It's just that the culture war stuff came off as very kind of gross to some Americans. They really didn't like it. So I agree to a degree, but not in the way that you're framing it.
Okay.
How was she running on woke when she literally did an interview where she threw trans people under the bus? They were like, she was asked, like, what will you do about, you know, somebody who wants trans affirming care, but they live in a red state and it gets banned? And she's like, I'll follow the law. Like, that's not woke, bro. Like, this is ridiculous.
Let's talk about race, because it seems.
Can I get in here?
Well, one second. Because hang on. One thing, I'll come to you, Shane. One on the issue of race. Many people found it extraordinary that a guy who a lot of people think is racist beat a black woman, and a lot of people that helped him win turned out to be a lot more black men voting for him than first time, and a lot more Latinos voting for him than the previous times. How important, if at all, was race in the end, or was it actually a case of a lot of black and Latino people went, we don't care about all that stuff. What we care about is jobs, cost of living, illegal immigration, and so on.
Well, I think everybody cares about jobs, cost of living, inflation, and so on. And by the way, I don't think you're right about those numbers. I think there were more black men than black women who went towards Trump. But remember, there's still a small segment of the overall electorate. The big shift, actually, as I said, Latino men was a huge shift. And they're also not that big a section of the electorate. The big electorate in this country still is white people. And overwhelmingly, white men went for Donald Trump. And white women, who I thought, and I think a lot of pollsters thought, given the abortion issue and the success of abortion as an issue for Democrats in 2020, but also after the Dobbs decision in 22. White women again voted for Trump. But so, you talk about, is this a race issue? The race issue may be that white Americans were overwhelmingly in support of Donald Trump.
Trans people are less than 1%. Okay, 1% of the population are trans. That's how stupid this is. Like, you want to talk about trying to distract? This is the distraction. Let's argue for hours and hours and hours about whether or not a trans teenager should be able to play in sports at their local high school. Meanwhile, millions of people can't afford their rent. Like, this is so embarrassing. And they threw trans people under the bus anyway. So I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Yeah. Also, when he's like, still white women, voted for Trump. Still. Yeah, that's true. So I don't know why you guys assumed that running on a platform of trying to appeal to white Republican women who always vote for Republicans was going to work. Why? Why use that strategy? Republican women, white women, were never going to vote for you. In fact, Kamala Harris actually did get more white women this time than Biden got in 2020 or Hillary Clinton in 2016, but it still wasn't enough because still, by a simple majority, white women voted for Trump because they were always going to vote for Trump. That's why the strategy of trying to assume you were going to get white women voters was always stupid because you were never going to get them. Why would you bet the farm on that? Why would you bet the whole election on getting white women who vote conservative to suddenly care about Roe v. Wade when they were never going to do that?
Trump, and if you look at Black America as overall Black America supported Kamala Harris. Overall, Latino America supported Kamala Harris, even Latino men who had that big shift. So to me, race is a part of the story because, in America, the demographics are creating anxiety. And I think the anxiety is most evident in terms of white America, seeing that there are more Black people, but also Latinos as the second largest group in the country now, and rising number of Asians. It plays out in so many ways. And I think Donald Trump is just expert at exploiting, that racial anxiety to say to people, these Democrats are playing identity politics or whatever.
Well, that part of that is true. And then part of that is, again, ignoring the massive economic issues that people have. Like a lot of people really are struggling economically. Remember where a bunch of liberals made fun of like working class people and said, oh yeah, you're so-called economic anxiety, you're just racists. And they made fun of it. When the reality is a lot of people are fucking poor and a lot of people are working class and can't afford shit. But they wanted to ignore that and mock that and just say it was about race. I am not saying that race doesn't play into it. Of course it does. Of course it does. White supremacy plays into it. White people fearing that like they're going to get overtaken as a demographic plays into it, of course, which is a really stupid fear to have, by the way, if you're white. It's really dumb. Not only are white people still a majority of this country, but even if we weren't the majority of this country, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit if we were the minority in this country, which isn't going to happen for a long time, but who cares? You should care a lot more about the fact that billionaires keep stealing your money. That's what you should care a lot more about. It's the oldest fucking trick in the book, and you idiots are still falling for it. The oldest trick in the book is to demonize immigrants coming into the country and say that they're stealing your way of life while the billionaires and the corporations take all your money and run out the back door. Thank you for the super sticker, Yeezy. Yeezy. Is Kanye West in chat?
I think the identity politics overwhelmingly is played by Donald Trump with white America.
Cenk, you wanted to jump
That's true. He does play identity
Yeah,
politics
so
in White
look,
America.
I'm going to address what Juan's saying too. But first, Harry, I know that the same policy was under Donald Trump, but that's not disinformation. That's for our candidate to go out there and clarify that and to fight back and to make her case. But she refused to make her case. She barely did any interviews. They were all incredibly structured to protect her fragile ego. All she did was talking points. Donald.
Yeah, he's right about that. Yeah. So don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not criticizing the Democrats because they, acknowledge there are white people in this country that are scared of demographic change. Yeah, there are people like that. Like, obviously, there's white supremacy in this country. There are racists in this country. There are white people that are afraid of things changing. And the one who plays on that and exploits that and does the identity politics are the Republicans, is the right. But I'm also saying, because two things can be true at once, that to try to do what Democrats always do, where they always chalk it all up to that, the only thing that it's about is race. The only thing it's about is gender. No. It's yes, and yes, of course, race plays into it. Yes, of course, the right plays identity politics and are racist and want everybody to be scared of changing demographics. And also, the oligarchy and the plutocracy are crushing people in this country, and the Democrats have no answer to it. Thank you again, Yeezy, for the super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you so much, Saul, for gifting 10 I Am Blakely memberships. Now, you guys, for those of you who are not members, can become a member for free thanks to the generosity of our friend Saul over here. Thank you so much, Saul.
Trump's out there.
And Cenk is right about that. It was the Democrats' job to go out against that misinformation. That was their job. They didn't do it. Kamala Harris literally wouldn't do any interview that wasn't like structured and scripted.
Sometimes like a maniac, but a lot of times looking like a real person at McDonald's and with a garbage truck. And our side goes, "Oh, that's terrible." No, it's not terrible. Those are great photo ops. When our guy is a corporate talking robot, that is not helpful. We are misdiagnosing the case here.
Right.
So
right.
on these
Let me
identity
jump in
issues,
here.
the Republicans set traps. No, hold on. The Republicans set traps for us. So the great majority of the country is in favor of trans rights. And I'm 100% in favor of trans rights. And I bet you that the entire panel, including Piers, says that as well. Yeah. But when you go beyond rights and you say, hey, they dug and dug. They tried to find, hey, how about banning them from the military? Trump tried that in the beginning. It wasn't popular. Banning them from bathrooms, not popular. But they dug until they got to sports. And that was winning ground for them. And what I said is, guys, get out of there. It's a trap. You don't have to fight on that. You're falling into their trap. And what happened, as Piers can attest to, is everyone else on the left screamed, transphobe, fascist, Nazi. Let's dig in on our least popular position. That was terrible politics.
Totally agree with that.
Juan, I love you, brother, but it ain't about race. It ain't about race.
You know what?
Latino men didn't vote for. Hold on. Latino men didn't vote for Donald Trump because all of a sudden they like white people or orange people. They voted for him based on economic issues. That Democrats only think in terms of identity, but that's not working anymore. The number one identity people care about is not Latino, black, or white. It's class. Are you going to do something for the average man, or are you going to sit there and play identity politics so you avoid the more important questions that your donors don't want to talk about that actually helps the average guy, like paid family leave and higher wages?
Okay, Professor.
Well, that's true. That's true. He's right about that. Because the thing is, again, is that a lot of times you'll see people on the left or liberals be like, oh, you're just a class reductionist, when like they don't want to talk about the fact that they're being race reductionist or they're being identity reductionist by only talking about race or gender or trans issues, which again doesn't mean that those things don't matter or they're not important. They are. But what Cenk said there was true. It's all the Democrats want to talk about, and it's all they want to focus on and blame. Like, really? You're going to say that Latinos voted for Trump just because they're sexist or because they're also white supremacists? Like, Latino men did not vote for Donald Trump because they're white supremacists. Like, yes, are there sexist Latino men? Duh. There are sexist men in every fucking race group and have been since the beginning of time. But is that the overwhelming reason why Latino men voted for Trump? No. How many times do they have to say, we voted like this because the economy, before you listen to them? And then they just go, no, it's just because they're racist and sexist and it's machismo and they want to be white supremacists. Like, again, what Cenk said there is 100% true. They want to do everything to avoid having to talk about economic issues or class because of the fact that if they did that, they would have to confront their donor problem. They would have to confront their donor problem. They would have to confront the fact that they don't represent workers and poor people in this country. They would have to confront that, and they don't want to confront that. So they just blame every fucking identity and throw people under the bus in order to not have to take responsibility for it. Yeah, I know. Mexico just like elected a Jewish woman president, but apparently, oh, that was the other thing that makes it bullshit. They claim that Latino men were just sexist, and that's why they didn't vote for Kamala Harris, when actually Latino men voted for Hillary Clinton in overwhelming numbers in 2016. She got like 70% of the Latino vote and the Latino man vote. So what happened? They magically got sexist over the last 8 years? Make it make sense.
I don't get it, saying I don't get it. The reality is, like, Bill Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama, they stood up for Obamacare. They stood up for fair pay. These are populist issues that the heart of the Democratic Party, you go after the Democratic Party donors and the establishment Democrats stood for those issues.
This guy is really out of touch.
And Democrats, if you look at what Joe Biden did in terms of bailing people out during the virus and saying that we have to have.
You know what I remember during the virus? Them promising that they were going to give us $2,000 checks and then not doing it. Remember? Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff ran in Georgia during the runoff on the promise that we were going to get $2,000 checks, and then they went back on it, and we had to fight to get just $1,400. I remember that. Okay. No, this Juan guy has spent way too many years in elite politics and in the Fox News green room. Seriously, this guy's so out of touch.
Have infrastructure and building that helped working people in this country. But a lot of lies were told about that history.
Yeah, Professor Legal Lever. So you want to jump in there?
Yeah. First of all, let me add a quick fact. There was no.
That's the other thing I keep hearing too. Oh, it's because she was a woman. It's because she was a woman. Okay, then stop running women. I'm tired of hearing you guys complain about it. Like, they're already talking about Kamala Harris running again in 2028. They did like an embarrassing poll already, like a pathetic poll of like, who would you want to have in 2028? And it's like Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom, which Lamau, capital L Lamau, Pete fucking Wine Cave Buttigieg and Gavin French Laundry Newsom, get the fuck out of here. And Kamala Harris. It's like, okay, if the country is so if the country is so damn sexist and we can never have a woman president, then stop running them. Just stop. Because actually, if you really thought that the country's democracy was at stake and you think we're so sexist we can't elect a woman, then why do you keep running them? Apparently, you didn't care that much about democracy then. If you were so comfortable with just running some skirt, you were just going to run this broad and think she was going to win or know she was going to lose and do it anyway. Okay, then stop running women. No more women allowed to run.
Massive switch of black voters to Donald Trump. Donald Trump got 13% of the black vote, 11% the last time. That's 2% of a very small segment of voters. So that's one of the big myths of this election. Second big myth is that hindsight is 2020. We have a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks who, after the fact, are telling us what Harris should and should not have done. And half of them are saying,
bro, you're a Monday morning quarterback, because actually Cenk was saying this before the election.
Lost because she was too progressive. She was too open to the charge of being a radical, a socialist. The other half have said, of course, she lost because she wasn't progressive enough. We heard that from Cenk today.
These are the same clowns that said that we didn't need to have a primary. Okay. And now they're saying that we should have had a primary. At the time that Kamala Harris was picked, people said, let's have a primary. And they said no, because that's sexist and racist. It's her turn. And now they're all acting shocked and going, oh, maybe we should have had a primary. I'm so tired of the pundit class, the elite class, the professional managerial class, the academic class, the professor class, like this guy. Like, oh my gosh, you guys are so annoying and out of touch.
Sports talk radio without the entertainment. There is no way to know after
Some of
the
these
fact
people,
what she should or should not have done if she'd only done this or that.
really? I thought you were an election keys guy. I thought you had like the 13 keys. I thought you knew everything. I thought you were the greatest election predictor. And now you're Monday morning quarterbacking, bitch. This guy in his wig, okay? I am not in the mood for this guy in his rug to also try to rewrite history. This guy is so out of touch and elite and such a snob. Like, I can't.
It would have made a difference. That's just hot air with absolutely no proof. The difference that I bring to the table is a track record of successful prediction based upon.
What are you, running for office? Like, who are you trying to convince, bro? He's like, the track record I bring to the table, my friend. Listen, Sank, because none of them can ever get his name right. They're like, Sank said this and this and that. But it's actually funny for liberals who are so about, like, you should pronounce marginalized people or minorities' names right, because if you're not, you're racist. Like, they said it about Kamala Harris, and some people did say Kamala because they were, like, you know, racist and trying to, like, demean her. But with that, how come no one ever tells people to just pronounce Jank's name right? Like, it's not that hard. All of them call him Sank. It's like, it's Jank. What are you guys, Islamophobic?
How America?
Well, really, what is this guy running for office? I bring to the table. You know what this is? This is the desperate attempt to save elite credibility. Look, sent. Yes, I know. It's only okay to be racist and is like bigoted toward Arab and Muslim people. That's allowed. New member. Thank you, Mike, for becoming a new member. Thank you. Yeah, and then they're like 50 Sank. Okay, but this guy's really embarrassing. You know what this is? This is the pathetic attempt to save his credibility. Like the elite Democratic credibility. The elite Democrat credibility.
American presidential elections have previously worked as pragmatic decision-making on whether or not the White House party has governed well enough. And then my analysis is based upon what's changed, what's shattered the pattern of 160 years of history. So I have a base for my analysis. I'm not just doing Monday morning quarterbacking. Jank, you need to learn some manners. Your act is getting really thin.
I mean, brother, I said what was going to go wrong. It did go wrong. I was right. You were wrong in this election spectacularly so with your so-called keys. And now you come and tell us not the Monday morning.
Unlike you, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong.
Are you ever going to learn the lessons?
Can I just ask, hang on. Just ask, for those who have no idea what the key thing is all about, why are you flashing keys?
Okay, because this brother said that he had these keys and they were going to determine the outcome of the election. And all the keys were rigged in favor of incumbents. And I tried to explain to him, no, there are things outside of the keys. We literally had a debate and I asked him, what if Joe Biden, this was back when he was defending Joe Biden, which now seems unconscionable, what if Biden came and punched the baby every single day? Would your keys still hold? And he said, yes. Okay, well, then you're an unreasonable person.
I was right.
But what I'm most worried about is not the past.
Let me explain why. I was right.
I mean, listen to him. I mean, you have no idea how absurd you sound. Okay, but guys, the most important thing is not between me and Professor Lichten. God bless you, brother. I know you did a lifetime's worth of work, and I feel a little bit bad about it. The reason I'm saying it is not to rub it in now. It's because I'm worried that in the next primary, you're going to tell people to vote for the establishment Democrat. That all of you on this panel are going to go, oh no, vote for the corporate robot, vote for the corporate robot, and that's going to destroy this party. That's why I'm fighting back so aggressively.
Give me a name.
No, vote for the populist left.
Give me a name.
Well, in the old days, it easily would have been Bernie Sanders.
Who is it
now? Too old. So look, I would start considering Sean Fain, head of the UAW, Sean O'Brien, head of the Teamsters, Jon Stewart. Go outside of politics. Almost everyone in politics is already corrupted. Find someone who is not corrupted, at least for the average man.
Harry, you're shaking your head, but I mean, Jon Stewart, if he could be persuaded, I would imagine could be very good as a candidate, couldn't he?
No, I don't take objection to Jon Stewart. I just think we have some people in the Democratic Party who are very talented right now who could be the Democratic nominee. Governor Shapiro won Pennsylvania by like 20 points. Governor Wes Moore in Maryland. How much more connected to people do you need other than like Wes Moore, who's great? Raphael Warnock from Georgia won a swing state and is a senator from a swing state. Gretchen Whitmer, who had a trifecta in Michigan for the first time in a long time. There's really talented people in the Democratic Party who are elected officials right now. And can shake his head all he'd like, but these people are winning in swing states overwhelmingly.
No more skirts. No more broads. Okay? No.
Who would you like to see, Harry?
I think any of the people I just mentioned, I'd love to see.
They just named a bunch of establishment Democrats. No, Cenk is right. He needs to go. If the Democrats wanted to win at all, they would have to go outside of politicians. Outside of politicians. But they won't because they're hacks. Not only are they hacks, but The Democratic Party has become a very like top-down establishment party where no one can be questioned. There's no dissent. You know what I mean? Like nobody can be questioned. There is no dissent. You cannot dissent in the Democratic Party. You got to listen to leadership top down. So they're not going to do any of that, even though they should. But Cenk's right. It's good that he called them out, and everybody should, because these people need to be discredited. Okay? Every single person should be calling them out because they need to be discredited. New party. True. We do need a new party. Because they need to be, because the Democrats need to be discredited. They really do. Like, Cenk is right when he said, like, he's pointing out the absurdity of what what Cenk said, where he is pointing out the absurdity of, the reason Cenk's right in calling out him, like, the absurdity of Alan Lichtman and all of them doing the propaganda that they're doing because they've proven to be losers. They have proven to be losers. Harry Sisson's ideology is loser ideology. So is Alan Lichtman. And their strategy is loser strategy, which is why they're talking about Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg and fucking Josh Shapiro, Lamau. That Zionist? No thanks. No thanks. Next. Nothing. They've learned nothing. And Cenk's right. They're going to try. Guys, he's right about this too. They're going to try to retcon it. In 2028, they're going to go, no, guys, we need to have a corporate Democrat. No, guys, we need to have a corporate Democrat.
Lay good money now that J.D. Vance will be the Republican nominee in
I'd say it's probably a good bet.
Because I think he's actually, he in direct contrast to Mr. Waltz, who I thought was a total disaster. I thought J.D. Vance started with a lot of negativity, but became a real force for Trump, particularly in getting young men to come out and vote for him. So I suspect he'll be the nominee, but we'll see. Professor Lippman, we're going to say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. In a moment, we're now going to be joined by, to add to our panel, the Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, and first making his uncensored debut, the host of the Kyle Kulinski Show, Kyle Kulinski. Well, Kyle, welcome to our center. We're trying to get you for a long time.
Yeah, Kyle Kulinski had been invited on the show many times and rejected it. And he finally agreed to go on now that the Democrats have had their asses handed to them. And I'm glad for that. Also, I love Nina Turner. Nina Turner is great, and she's usually right on things. She ran in Ohio in 2022, and the Democrats totally fucked her over. Like, totally fucked her over. And ran this, like, hack AIPAC shill against her.
Let's have a little chat with you before we get reaction from the panel. But why did the Democrats blow it so badly? And what do they do to avoid this happening again in 4 years?
I mean, the simple answer: Democratic status quo manager and Trump codes as a change agent. And so, to sum it up as simply as possible, vote
100%, 100%. So I don't remember who said it. Otherwise, I would give them credit for it. And I don't remember who said it, but they were right. They said the difference is that the Republicans have a leader, the Democrats have a manager, and people want a leader. Donald Trump is a leader to the Republican Party. His base loves him. Democrats have managers. We don't have a leader. Or they don't have a leader.
voters just thought he's going to deliver more change. She's more of the same, and they broke for him.
Who would you like to see run the party now? I mean, what's the future of the Democrats looking like to you?
Jon Stewart. I've been pushing that since the day Trump won this time around, because what we need is, honestly, a controversial, charismatic celebrity might make all of the difference, but it's that mixed with Bernie Sanders' policies of actually delivering social democracy for people, raising their pay, getting them health care.
Okay, so I actually I never considered myself a Democrat. It's that I vote for Democrats in the past because I was doing the lesser of two evil. Like I used to consider myself a progressive where like I wanted Bernie Sanders to win. I voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016. I voted for him in 2020 in the primary. I ended up voting for Jill Stein in the general in 2016. And I did vote for Biden in 2020 because I was so done with Trump, like during the pandemic. So, yeah. So I never considered myself a Democrat, really. I always considered myself a progressive, like loosely, who voted for Democrats because they were the lesser evil. But I'm done with the lesser of evil bullshit. Like I really am. I'm done with the lesser bullshit evil, and I'm done the lesser evil bullshit, and I'm done with being manipulated and held hostage for my vote. I'm done with them holding me hostage for my vote. And what really did it was Gaza. Because honestly, if it weren't for Gaza, I probably would have voted for Kamala Harris. In fact, I know I would have, because I would have been, you know, scared, and some of the fear mongering and the lesser of two evils, I probably would have ended up voting for her. But Gaza kind of broke it for me. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this lesser of evil with you people as you tell me to go vote for somebody who's overseeing a genocide. Like, I'm just not doing it. I'm done.
I think that's the magic stew. And honestly, I think it's a shame that more people aren't talking about the controversial, charismatic celebrity portion of Trump being so successful, is that you can't keep the cameras off him. He's entertaining. Love him or hate him, you can't stop watching him. And so we need to sort of mirror that on the left. And I think the way of doing that is Jon Stewart.
But I would add to that what Bill Maher's been warning for a long time. Speaking as
Boomer Maher.
I'm pretty much where he is politically, I think. I feel the same way. And I know you've been keen to say, look, Kamala didn't mention any of these woke issues, whatever, but she's very much associated with a lot of those woke issues. She's certainly voted in line with a lot of the more progressive stuff, like allowing transgender athletes in women's sport and so on. So she's seemed to be a progressive who then moved rapidly to the center when she got the nomination, and it was all too much of a screech for people, probably on both sides. But this whole woke ideology, I don't mean the original woke ideology of raising awareness for racial and social injustice.
No. Actually, the elites do like Trump's policies because he does policies on behalf of him. What Kyle Kalinski's talking about here, and he's right, is that people are obsessed with the aspects of like celebrity and like gossip and entertainment. That's who our country is, okay? Donald Trump is who our country is. And the left doesn't have that. The left's like, well, actually, let's go to this round table and talk about the, you know, serious, I don't know. I can't even think of some stupid ass shit that the Democrats would come around the table to talk about. Let's talk about women in tech, okay? Let's sit around the table and talk about women in tech. Let's get one of our technocratically, and people don't care. People don't want that. They want someone that inspires them. Now, Trump may be a fraud, okay? And he may be an elite himself who does everything policy-wise on behalf of the elites. But he pretends not to be, and his voters believe him. He codes as, oh, he's anti-establishment, even if he's really not. He codes that way, so people are like, oh, cool. So Kyle's right about that.
I mean, the way it's become a kind of new form of fascism, where the far left just basically want to cancel, shame, and humiliate absolutely anybody who disagrees with them about anything.
Like, Trump's voters think that he's anti-establishment when Trump literally went to a fundraiser with a bunch of billionaires and millionaires and started laughing about how he was going to cut their taxes. He's like, I'm going to make you richer. I'm going to cut your taxes. Yay.
Do you accept that has become a problem, a stick to beat the party with, which actually really damages them electorally?
No, I think Kamala ran basically the platonic ideal of a non-woke Democratic campaign.
Exactly.
She never mentioned gender. She never mentioned trans people. She never mentioned pronouns or Latinx or cancel culture. She repeatedly stressed that she was going to represent all Americans. She ran to the right on the issue of the border. She talked about owning a gun. She ran on freedom and patriotism. And so when you put all that stuff together, I simply don't know what people are talking about when they say she's
well, they're talking about her record.
Things
hang on. They're talking about her record as vice president of the Biden administration, where they never stopped talking about this stuff for nearly 4 years. So you can pretend when you get the nomination, whoa, I'm a centrist. I'm a gun-toting Rambo, by the way, as well, to all you Second Amendment people. But actually, if you judge her on what she said and did in 4 years, she was a progressive left person. And
No,
to
she
pretend otherwise
wasn't.
is to just ignore what went on in that.
What did she do that was so leftist
What I'm much more
during
concerned about is
Biden's
not
term?
Democrats being woke or Democrats censoring speech. I'm much more concerned about Trump's record on those things. So, for example, Trump said he wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. That's against the First Amendment. He sued CNN for $475 million for calling election denialism the big lie. Before he was president, he sued Bill Maher for $5 million over a joke. He said he wants to open up the libel laws. He called for jailing journalists who report on the Supreme Court abortion ruling early before the
How many of those things did he do in his first term?
Pro-Palestine protesters.
How many of those things did he actually do in his first term? Because it seems to me another problem, and he does this brilliantly, by the way, with the left. He sucks you in because he just shoots them a hip and he says stuff that crosses his mind or whatever. And rather than pick him off on stuff he actually does, you all go completely nuts every time he opens his mouth and says something a bit crazy. And if I was advising the Democrats, I'd be like, stop doing this. You're literally playing into his trap every time you do this. Just pick him off on the stuff he actually does.
True.
All right, I'll do that. Here, ready? He gag ordered the EPA from telling the truth on climate change. That's deeply anti-free speech. He arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting. He did not pardon Assange. He did not pardon Snowden. He did not pardon Daniel Hale. He wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy the U.S. to deploy our own troops against George Floyd protesters. These are all things that are actually on the record, things he actually did. And the thing that I find incredibly frustrating is that nobody talks about it. Trump magically gets a pass for things he actually did.
Bro, that was really good. Like, Kyle does not get enough credit for how good he is at this. He knows about the policy, and you need people of doing everything, right? You need different people doing different things. This is another thing the left doesn't understand. The left always wants everybody to be like the same. We're all like, talking about the same thing, and we're all on the, we all do the same thing, and there's no room for other people doing different things that they're good at. And it's like, no. Not everybody is a policy person. You need policy people, right? But not everybody is a policy person. Not everybody is like Cenk. In fact, most people aren't like Cenk. But Cenk is good at being the bull. Like, Cenk is good at yelling and being obnoxious and screaming and not letting you run roughshod over him. You need people like that. But people on the left get mad at Cenk over everything because they don't like his tone. They don't like the way he talks. They don't like that he talks to right-wingers. Like, instead of always getting mad at the person not being exactly how you want them to be, you should embrace that different people have different gifts and embrace the kind of gifts they have. Some people are really good at debating. Vosh is very good at debating, right? Like, every person who is on the left, just like people on the right, just like people in general, have different gifts, and people should embrace their different gifts and embrace the people who have the different gifts, rather than just being like, well, I don't like them because I don't like the way they do this, or I don't like them because the way that they do that. But anyway, with that being said, I feel like Kyle doesn't get enough credit for the fact that he's really good with that. Piers, but do you condemn Hamas Morgan was like, well, he didn't actually do those things, did he? So why don't you name something he did? Yeah. And Kyle's like, yeah, okay. All right, sure. I can name a bunch of things he actually did if you want to talk about things he actually did. And then he drops like 4 things he actually did right off the bat, like just right there. That is good. That is good. We need people like that. Cenk is too emotional. I don't care. I think it's fine. It's fine. Actually, no, it's not his problem that he's too emotional. It's that the left thinks that everybody has to be stoic. That's the thing. That's the problem. Is that you think that everybody needs to be the same. Everybody has to be stoic. Everybody has to fit in the same box. It's kind of funny. This is another problem of mine with the left in general, is that the left always talks about how we're like, the left will always talk about how, like, we embrace differences, right? We embrace all the different identities, and we embrace different religions, and we embrace people being who they are, but we really don't embrace people for being different. On the left, there is like a very rigid, like, you need to be this way. And oftentimes if people don't act that way, they'll like be like, no, we don't like them. Like, it's happening right now in the comments. People are like, I don't like Cenk. He's too bombastic. He's too emotional. It's like, okay. Like, I don't like Kyle's hair. Like,
He doesn't get a pass. Held to a super high standard.
Come on, he doesn't get a pass. Trump has had. Wait. Hang on. Let me answer you. Trump has had the most unrelentingly hostile media from a mainstream media that is largely.
Whoa! What a cock! What a cock!
Because the way they all go nuts when their paper wouldn't come out and endorse Kamala.
So Kyle makes the good point, and then Piers is like, "Well, what about the media being hostile to him?"
Conservative, right? So let's just get real about the way mainstream media is made up. I've worked in it.
And
there are very few conservatives, and that is part of the problem as well. And I just think that ultimately, the Democrats are going to try and make make themselves electable. They've got to move wholesale on now to a far more effective way of campaigning. They can't just be, every time Donald Trump speaks, mass hysteria, shaving your head, going on TikTok and posting videos of yourself screaming and saying you'll never have sex with a Trump supporter again. All this stuff is insane.
How about just telling the truth? Wait. How about just telling the truth? That's a radical idea, right? When was the last time you heard that Trump arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting? Who talked about that? Did CNN talk about that? Did MSNBC talk about that? Did you talk about that?
Damn.
And the fact of the matter is, Trump attacks Democrats 4 times as hard as they attack him.
Yeah.
So if anything, the lesson to take away is the opposite. Democrats should get more arrogant, they should get more aggressive, and they should tell the truth more.
Come on, Carl. You know that would be utter. You know what? You wouldn't be as good at it as he is, because he does it with humor. You lot all do it with these incredibly straight-faced, virtue-signaling, I'm outraged by everything faces. And it's like, if you all just chilled out a bit, have a bit of Kool-Aid, have a bit of a laugh.
That's why I said Jon Stewart.
Death by mockery. Well, actually, you're right. Jon Stewart gets exactly the right tone. On that, I agree with you.
That's right. Yeah.
I agree. Let's bring in Nina Turner and the rest of the panel. Nina, you floated that Rahm Emanuel as a new DNC chair would be a good signal that the Democrat Party is only there for the donor class. Many other people would say that Emanuel's a very effective political operator. I mean, actually, the Democrats need a bit of that muscle now.
Appears very effective at a cover-up. As we know, as mayor of the city of Chicago, he covered up the police murder of Laquan McDonald. He closed many schools in the Black
community. If you guys have not seen my video I did, it's on YouTube, it's on TikTok, it's on all my socials about Democrats talking about maybe making Rahm Emanuel the head of the DNC. Please watch it, because I explain why it's such an insane disaster in that video, and why that's another example of the Democrats not being interested in reforming, another example of the Democrats not being interested in going in a different direction. Because if you cared at all about going in a different direction or reforming, you wouldn't be talking about Rahm fucking Emanuel. Like, what a joke. Oh my gosh, like what an actual joke. Gangrene Thumb, thank you for the $5 super chat. Suing Bill Maher over a joke might be a reason for me to vote for Trump. I mean, I'm a free speech person, so I don't believe in trying to sue someone for something like that, but
community. Certain segments of the Black community are very outraged by him. He is more of the same and should be as far away from the DNC as possible. Now, if the Democrats want to lose again and get handed again like they just did in 2024, then go ahead and have Rahm Emanuel there. But if they want to do a new thing and answer to the working class people of this country from all backgrounds, then they need to have somebody there, primarily who's going to say no more dark money in Democratic primaries. Rahm Emanuel is an absolute no. We know that the Chicago Teachers Union feels the same way, and many others will come out against him if he decides to run for that.
Okay. Juan, let me bring you back in, because MSNBC is now at war, which is always entertaining to watch, because Joe Amica from the morning show went off with a reveal this morning to go and see Trump in secret at the end of last week after bombarding him.
I love Nina Turner,
having originally been great friends of his. Another MSNBC presenter, Katie Fang, has now tweeted normalizing Trump is a bad idea, period. So clearly there is an internal fracturing going on, which I suspect is going on in the Democrat Party at large, because I would urge him to be more collegiate with Trump. I've always felt that he's one of those guys, he's a natural pugilist. If you read his book, The Art of a Deal, he says, if you punch me, I'll punch you 10 times back.
He didn't write The Art of the Deal. He had a ghostwriter.
And I've criticized him as much as I praised him. He can take criticism if he feels like you're not just unrelentingly abusive. So I actually thought that Joe Amica, we'll play a clip from what they said this morning, but I thought this was a good move on their part. Let's take a look.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally
with
President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues.
First of all, there's a couple problems with this, but the biggest one is what fucking hypocrites they are. They were the most hysterical. Piers Morgan gets so upset when people say that Trump was a Nazi or that he's fascist. There was no one that made everyone. There was no one that learned, like, there was no one that was more hysterical about Trump administration that called him a Nazi or fascist more than Morning Joe. Okay? They did more damage to the left and to the progressives, and they're the ones who push the never Trump shit the hardest, okay? They're the ones who push the Liz Cheney shit the hardest. So the fact that they then went to kiss the ring to Donald Trump, and by the way, they're supposedly journalists, but then they didn't record their conversation with him. They had a private conversation with him. They didn't put on the record. Hacks. No one should ever listen to anything these two hacks have to say. Ever, 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 ever.
Including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications.
Well, what do you make of that? I mean, I actually feel America's been so toxic in the way it's become so tribal. And they've been part of that, no question, on one side, and Fox have done it, I guess, on the other, and so on. Should we encourage both sides to come together
he's
a bit
not a
more,
right
like
winger,
they used
but
to in
he
the old
says,
days?
I guess, when it comes to Fox's
Sure, I
polarization
mean, look, I'm all for people working together, building bridges, kumbaya. I'm all for it because I think, you know what? If you look at the Congress of the United States, totally polarized, they're also totally paralyzed. They're not getting anything done.
Yeah.
We need to get things done. And on the world stage, I could go on and on. But I think that with Joe and Mika, and I watched that show, so I'm no critic of it in that sense because I subscribe, if you will. But let me just tell you, it looked to me like their ratings have gone through the floor.
They have, yeah.
And I think that when people talk about Trump, you talk about Trump, he's a celebrity. People have said you can't take the camera off.
As it should. All of these hacks on MSNBC, they deserve to lose all their ratings. They're so full of shit. They're so full of shit. And they were the ones pushing so hard, the Republicans for Trump and the whole like never Trump narrative. And now they don't even have a Russiagate thing. Yeah, they should lose all their ratings. No one should trust them. They're so full of shit.
Off him. I think for them, it's like, you know what? This is a way to get back in the media ratings game. You know, the idea that we're connected to Trump. People like to advertise on shows they know the president might be watching. They would love to get Trump to, instead of watching Fox and Friends, to watch some of Joe and Mika, Morning Joe. But, you know, to me, that's it really calls into question, have they been authentic when they were saying that this guy is so harsh when it comes to women, so harsh and racist when it comes to blacks and Latinos, and has an authoritarian, even as we were saying.
I reject this, though, this argument. Being part of being progressive is always supporting marginalized communities unconditionally. No, it's not that Cenk is anti-trans. I just question how progressive he is. Okay, that is part, like, in my opinion, that kind of attitude is part of the problem. First of all, part of being progressive is supporting marginalized communities unconditionally. That doesn't mean that you have to agree with every single thing that somebody says. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with every single policy, or else you're not an ally or you're not progressive. I don't agree with Cenk when it comes to the trans in sports issue. I know that he thinks like it's more of a thing than I think it is, but that doesn't mean that I think that he hates trans people because of it. And to say, oh, you're not progressive then, you can't be a part of the left because you hate trans people because you have a different opinion on sports. People on the left need to get back in the business of persuasion and less in the business of continually telling people they're not allowed in our club because they don't fit in enough. They're not really progressive. Because unconditionally to me is not even a word I would use. You don't no, we support human rights unconditionally. But that doesn't mean that within the framework of progressive politics, you need to agree with every single policy or every single idea that somebody has within that. And to down any debate and just kick people out instead of trying to persuade anyone. What happened to persuasion?
Fascist streak. So were they sincere about that, or are they now falling in line with others who find, you know what, I want to get on the bandwagon because Trump has just been reelected and won the popular vote?
Yeah.
To my mind, you got to be straight about your authentic sense so that the audience can trust you. And I think they put that at risk today.
Well, it's interesting, Cenk, because the journalism professor and author Jeff Jarvis has accused them, Joe and Mika, of inflicting a, quote, betrayal on their colleagues, democracy, and us all. He treated this as a disgusting show of obeisance in advance.
Yeah. So I have a different opinion than everybody here. My first question would be, what are we agreeing on? So if you want to go to Trump to get him to agree on things that we agree with, like an anti-war position, fantastic. Of course, we should be open-minded to that. You'd be nuts not to be open-minded to that, right? If he were to actually do anti-corruption, which he always promises but never does, right? And you can get them to be open to that, fantastic. But why are Mika and Joe going there? To push for, the public option? No, they're going over there to get access. And so they seem like utter frauds. Like if they could show me policies that they care about that Donald Trump agrees to, or they have a strategy to get Donald Trump to do good and decent things, great. I'm super open to it. Look, I would want to do that. I got no problems with meeting with Donald Trump, Elon Musk, or anything else along those lines. But what I'm not going to do is compromise my principles and my ideas just to get access. Yeah. So like, for example, I mean, see the Democratic Party instantly going in the wrong direction. Rahm Emanuel is the biggest dog for corporate donors. picking him could be the worst possible thing you could do. Do you know that Rahm Emanuel lost 1,000 seats on his watch when he was at the DNC nationwide for the Democrats? There isn't a bigger loser in the Democratic Party. So look, we need a populist like Jon Stewart, which I actually, if you remember, Piers, I tried to get him into this race.
Yeah.
But John, call me. This guy never wants to. He doesn't realize how intensely popular he can be. By the way, another candidate for president could be Nina Turner, a person who actually fights for the average person, has always been right about the populist left, and going for class instead of always being worried about identity politics. So there's so many options here.
Yeah. Kyle, a lot of people now saying, including John Fetterman, that Nancy Pelosi should go. She's the godmother, the enforcer. Now she's blaming Biden. You can't have it both ways. I think it's really ironic. You have a woman of age 84 and she's still hanging on. Why not give a younger generation opportunity to occupy that seat? I mean, Nancy Pelosi, it does seem to me they've got to move on. Haven't they? Get somebody younger, fresher, new ideas?
I mean, I'm totally in favor of cleaning house, but at the same time, that 100% would include the genocidal maniac that is John Fetterman. So he's part of the problem that he thinks he's calling out here. He's one of the worst of the worst. So, but on the broader point of just bringing in new leadership, bringing in fresh ideas, bringing in people who believe in social democracy and Bernie Sanders' agenda, and they're willing to fight, 100% on board for that.
Harry, celebrities like Oprah Winfrey, where it's now been revealed.
Oh,
that
I
she
love
and
that he
a
called
company
out
got paid
John
close to
Fetterman.
$2.5 million
Good.
rather than the original $1 million as thought for the event they put on with Kamala Harris. Every single time out comes Oprah, putting her arm around whoever the Democrat candidate is. Then you see Beyonce, then you see they all come out. I feel that's over. That Trump has barreled his way through that, and his people like Joe Rogan.
I hear you, Donald, and maybe I was misunderstanding your point. Like, I was making a broader point, though, in general, that I think that when it comes to it, whatever the issue is, that we need to start trying, if we want to build any kind of movement, to be more persuasive and try to change people's minds instead of just focusing on how they're not, what their intentions are, just like they're not really progressive or they're not really a leftist or they're not really, whatever. Like, I think I just think that we need to think about how we're working to try to build coalition with people and persuade people if their opinions are wrong, rather than just like pointing at them and telling them that, they can't be in our club because they're not progressive enough or whatever.
Elon Musk and others, they're not really conventional celebrities. They're tech people in a tech world, really, or interviewers or journalists. Do you think this idea of the Democrats constantly being associated with super rich celebrities, singers, pop stars, actors, and so on, is that over now? Because it seems to have backfired this time.
No, I don't think so. I think like the people you're describing, like Joe Rogan, are celebrities in their own right. Joe Rogan, his base of viewers just happen to be the people that Donald Trump wanted to get out to vote. The people who watch Oprah, the people that listen to Taylor Swift, happen to be the Kamala Harris's.
But they didn't get their people out to vote. Women did not go out in the numbers that people expected when Taylor Swift.
Well, women still voted for Kamala Harris overwhelmingly.
Yeah, but I love Taylor Swift, for example. But everyone thought that would really change the needle. 500,000 people apparently registered to vote extra in 24 hours when she made her.
Hi, Donald. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that it wasn't effective. Who's to say that it can actually get out more people to vote? And that possibly the loss would have been worse if Taylor Swift and folks like Oprah weren't working with Kamala Harris. These people have, they're famous. They have a lot of notoriety. So when they're doing something,
LOL, the loss would have been worse if it weren't for the celebrities.
Right? We want to get those people out to vote, and a lot of those people align with Kamala Harris. And if they see Oprah standing next to Kamala Harris, they're like, oh yeah, that looks cool to me. So I don't think that was a mistake. I don't think it like quote unquote backfired. Maybe there's a way to do it more strategically in the future. But to say that, oh yeah, no, we shouldn't work with Taylor Swift, the biggest pop star on earth, I think that's foolish.
You know what, Harry?
Nobody cares, Harry. Nobody cares about celebrity endorsements.
I don't think they do.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, nobody cares about celebrity endorsements. Here, let me give you one example. If Democrats, for example, passed Build Back Better, the original Build Back Better that Biden and Bernie were trying to get through, that included paid family leave, childcare, universal pre-K, free community college, expanding Medicare, higher minimum wage, lowering all prescription drug prices, expanded child tax credit. If you got that through, I think this election very well may have been different, and Democrats would have won. And I don't think dragging out, Taylor Swift or Beyonce or whoever else is going to make much of a difference, because people like them for what they like them for. They like them for the singing. They like them for the dances. They don't really want to hear their thoughts on the marginal tax rate.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
I want to bring Dina back in.
I agree with Kyle on that, and I want to say, Jane, thank you for that presidential endorsement. Who knows what 2028 will hold? But they overplayed their hand.
Yeah, and Nina Turner actually is a really great example of a Democrat or progressive or whatever you want to call it, that she never what's the word? She never will compromise on her values and on progressive values, and she won't throw anyone under the bus, but she also focuses a lot on populism and policies that would actually change people's lives in a material way, and she doesn't get hung up on identity politics. So why don't they run Nina Turner? She's a Black woman. I think Nina Turner could win. Nina Turner's great, but they won't, because of the fact that she actually cares about economic policy and populism. So then all of a sudden, then they don't care about Black women. Okay. Then they don't care if it's throwing someone like Nina Turner under the bus. Also, guys, remember that when Build Back Better, the original Build Back Better, was going to be stripped out, people on the left and progressives said, don't strip it out, because if you do, they'll never pass it. They'll never pass it. And they didn't. The people who said that were right. They were right. They were like, if you guys take it out, we know that the donors and the corporations are going to get everything they want in that Build Back Better bill. And then you guys won't pass all the other provisions that were popular that Kyle just mentioned. And they were right. They didn't. And he's right. If those things had passed and people had felt that material benefit, it's very likely Kamala Harris would be president now.
And with celebrities, it's not that you don't want celebrities, but celebrities motivate the base that you already have. What this campaign did is they put too much stock in those celebrities. Those celebrities, just like my colleagues on the panel, just like myself, they only have one vote to give. Yes, they have influence, but you know who could have been a bit better influence on that race is everyday working class people standing by her side. Everyday working class people talking about how under the Harris-Walz presidency, things would be different for them, that the minimum wage would be increased, et cetera, et cetera. That did not happen. So although Taylor Swift is popular, obviously she's not that popular because she absolutely did not move the needle. And this is no shade to her. It is just celebrities are good for the base. They are not necessarily good to move those undecided voters.
And the other thing, Nina,
the way they did it too.
The other thing I would say,
the way they did it.
Yeah,
it was a very elitist way. You know, it was the way they did it.
No, I agree with you. There's a different issue with Trump's nominee picks for the cabinet. I think I see a consistent pattern here. The one running theme of all of them is they're all good on television. Trump understands the power of television like no political candidate I've ever seen. He absolutely gets it because he's a TV guy. I did his Celebrity Apprentice show. I saw him at first hand. He loves the camera loves him, and he's great at the power of television. If you look at RFK Jr., you look at Tulsi Gabbard, you look at Marco Rubio, you look at even Matt Gaetz, look at all these people. What's the common theme? They're all good talkers. And they're good on telly. Everyone can have their view about their politics, but they are good performers on television. If I try and think of a lot of Democrats in that camp who are good at articulating policy on television, I start to really struggle. I do. I think it's important.
But why are we giving Trump credit for optics right now, Piers? The thing about all of his picks is that they're virulent neocons. He picked Mike Huckabee, who's an end times fundamentalist Christian, to be ambassador to Israel. This guy thinks the rapture is going to happen and Jesus is going to come back in his lifetime.
You know why he picked him?
Hook
You know why he picked him?
Department.
He picked him because
Trump's a neocon. That's why
he picked him because he can, because he has such a thumping mandate on November the 5th.
But do you criticize that? But wait, do you criticize that though? Are you against?
I don't think it's any surprise. It's no surprise. It may
He
be
does not have a mandate.
It may
This
be
is
a
the craziest
surprise.
talking point I've heard.
Well, hang on. Hang on. My point is the Democrats had such a terrible campaign with a terrible candidate. You reap what you sow. You've allowed Trump to do what he wants, right?
I like how Piers Morgan pretends like he's not a right winger, but then his only defense for Kyle pointing out what a psycho neocon like pick that Trump has been doing is like, oh, well, he won. Like, what do you work for him? What do you want his payroll?
So I'm afraid
do you criticize his neocon pick? Do you criticize?
Here's what I think. It doesn't matter what I think because the truth is,
it does. Yes,
Trump,
it does.
Trump was very pro.
Now it doesn't matter what you.
He was always going to be very pro.
You love to tell people what you think. Now
you guys have allowed him to win with a thumping mandate. So the real point of this panel,
thumping mandate.
The real point of this blue on blue panel is for you to show some self-awareness that you've allowed all this to happen. I mean, Nina, I want to come back to you just briefly.
What self-awareness? He's picking neocons. Are you going to criticize?
He's picking it because he's allowed to.
Or not?
He can pick.
You have to, but are you against it? Are you against it?
I'm against some of it. Yeah.
Nothing but criticism for Democrats. And you have no smoke for Trump, apparently.
Listen, I regularly criticize
Trump.
Come on, brother.
I would not. Okay, let me answer the question. I would personally not have picked Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General pick. I think it's ridiculous, right? I wouldn't.
You should call him up and tell him that. I know you guys talk on the phone.
He won. So to the victor goes the spoils.
Yes.
We all can agree with that.
Yes.
The man won. The Democrats left the door, the windows open. They
Everything
opened the door.
Come in, burglars.
Won. There is a however to this. Yes, he does get to nominate whoever he wants to nominate in his cabinet. If the Senate is so upset with any of those nominees, then they can reject those nominees. That is likely not going to happen. The other side of this is true that some of the people that he is picking, and let's use Congressman Matt Gaetz for the prime example, he wants a yes man in the Attorney General's office. That is it, because Congressman Matt Gaetz has shown clearly that he will do every single thing that President-elect Donald J. Trump tells him to do,
I have one question about that. Okay, I have one question about
regardless of whether it's right or wrong.
Here's my point about that. Trump's being attacked for choosing loyalists, to which my response would be, should he have actively chosen disloyal people? I mean,
no,
seriously.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not attacking him.
Who wouldn't, if you're president, pick people that might be loyal?
I'm not attacking him. What I am saying is we got to call this what it is.
Come on, Piers.
I feel like I just lit a tinderbox.
I'm not attacking him. I said he has every right to pick these people, and we have every right to weigh in on his picks. But the Senate has the final.
That is true. That is true. We've got to leave it there. Brilliant panel. Thank you all very much. Blue on blue. Blue on blue was good, but I do feel like blue on blue, you've got to keep talking to each other, because out of this unholy mess, the reality is you've all allowed Donald Trump to get back in with even more power than he had first time. So you can all have a problem about it.
And Jon Stewart.
This is on you. I actually agree about Jon Stewart. I think he'd be great. So get on the phone to Jon Stewart. Thank you to my panel. Appreciate it.
Wow. 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 Kyle was really good in that. He should go on more often. Yeah, Piers Morgan is a conservative who pretends like he's not conservative. Wow, it just hit me how hungry I am. I need to eat. Thanks for a portion of the episode. Yeah, I thought it was good. It was interesting. Well, thanks for watching me with that, guys. Watching me with that. See, I'm getting hungry because I'm starting to like sound weird. Thank you for watching that with me. Bad empanada. I like him so far. I only recently found his channel, but I like him so far. Represents the center. Okay. All right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for thank you for everybody who became a member and gave a super chat. I appreciate that a lot. So that I can do this, so I can do these things, these lives. The super chats and the memberships help a lot with the live stream. So thank you guys. And thank you for hanging out with me and watching this and making fun of it because they deserve to be made fun of. Absolutely. Absolutely deserve to be made fun of. And join the Discord if you're not already in the Discord. Like the live, share the live, become a member on Ko-Fi or Patreon, all that kind of stuff. Follow me on all the other socials too. Yes, laughing is important. Making fun of these clowns is also very important, okay? It is medicine. So, yeah. Anyway, free Palestine, always and forever. Love to all of the Palestinians, and keep your eyes on Palestine. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. I think I will be able, actually, I might be able to. I put last live before Thanksgiving, but I think I might actually be able to do a live before Thanksgiving. So wait, no, I won't. I'm going to be out of town. So this is going to be my last live before Thanksgiving. Okay, but even though I won't be doing lives for Thanksgiving, I'll still be posting content. So still follow me on YouTube if you're already not, and the other socials, because I'll still be making videos. All right, and also join the Discord. Join the Discord. I'm going to try to fix the link. Maybe somebody can help me. All right, everyone. Love you all.